appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by the talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-line broadcast bunker on the beautiful south coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Cruz County. Hello, Oregon. Oh, America. And it's time for the Friday night rant. And I got to get rid of that opening for Friday nights. I got to do a Friday night rant opening, but I got a bunch of really special people joining me. I have Marty. Of course, you all know Marty. Marty, say hi.
Hi,
Yes.
Marty.
Hi, Marty. Hey. And we've got Doug Washington joining us. Doug, how you doing?
Outstanding, sir. How y'all doing?
Oh, we are kicking ass, taking names. That's what we do.
Excellent.
Yes. We live by your philosophy. Don't be a cuck. Take your neighborhood back. Yes. Yeah. I think I tattooed that on my forearm. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's you're bringing whole new name to axe handles, so I'm really excited about it.
I love, hickory's the way to go. I don't like smoking over hickory. I'm a mesquite guy, but when it comes to beating down evil, hickory's the way to go.
Hickory's the way to go. I would agree with you. You've been having some exciting times. I know me and Marty have been going to a lot of stupid government meetings, and I haven't. I saw you were going to some meetings. But I was like, I just can't do it. I just can't focus on that and this too. So I'm going to let Rob focus on it and then have him on the show, and he can tell us what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I think we did make a difference when it comes to the ODFW. It's no secret my lack of love for the ODFW, but I feel like inroads were made. And again, we're dealing with government entities, but
yeah,
I genuinely have a glimmer of hope for the second time in ODFW history. And when the people get together and the people speak and they actually get involved, things can happen. You can affect change. The problem is there's such a laissez-faire attitude of like, oh, well, someone else will do it. Oh, well, I can't. But with this particular issue that we can go into as much detail as you want or not go into as much detail as you want, enough people got involved, enough voices were heard that change was affected. When 6 people out of however many people are in the state of Oregon speak out, nobody cares. When hundreds speak out, people start to care. When thousands speak out, more people start to care. And we saw a lot of people get involved. We saw a lot of people speak out for what was right. And we saw some change. And it was exciting. I left that whole thing with a renewed hope and vigor, and even have some plans for moving forward that hopefully we can implement. And instead of having an us versus them, have a, yeah, you're still on that team, we're still on this team, but let's find some middle ground. I'm always about middle ground. Politics are horrible things. Sitting in that meeting, everybody likes hot dogs. No one wants to see how they're made. And that's what this meeting was like. The first 2.5 hours was,
it's brutal. Yeah.
It's bad. But when it came to our turn, it was good.
I do want you to go into details because honestly, I don't have a clue as to why you were really passionate about this on the internet. And I was, like I said, I was just being so lazy. I just can't go any further.
Well, but Rob, you do so much other stuff. You handle this end and that end. Marty's involved in this end. Chris is involved in that end. Brandy's involved in that. Samuel's, everybody kind of has their own little piece of it. And if we all jump on the same bandwagon at the same time, sometimes we burn ourselves out. And I'm burnt out of a lot of local stuff. I just am. I'm kind of done with the conformists, maybe, is what I'm looking at. Well, they're just all good people. They're going to do what they do. We can't change. You can't fight City Hall. Oh yeah, hell yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah. And for me, kind of the outdoors is my passion and my pursuit. And so many people are like, well, why is he doing this? What's the end game of this? Oh, he's getting paid off. For years, everyone's like, oh, the big oil's paying him off. Oh, the wind farms are paying him off. Oh, whatever it happens to be, like, oh, I'm the boogeyman that everybody's paying off. And that's just not the truth. The truth of it is, I love the outdoors. I love when people love the outdoors. I love when we get youth involved in the outdoors. And the outdoors are such a pure pursuit of who we are as a nation. And I don't care what color you are. I don't care what creed you are. The outdoors are there for everybody. And when we can fish, when we can hunt, when we do all those things, when we exercise our Second Amendment right, we've got that going on right now. And we hunt, we gather. We're not that far removed from that being how we had to live our lives. Those weren't just pursuits we did for fun. That's how you stayed alive. And I think by keeping some of that going, it's vitally important. We used to teach all kinds of classes on fishing and clamming and stuff. And one of the greatest rewards for me was teaching people how to get their own food. And that for me was always a 5-star win. I just felt so good about that. And that's what this was about. The Umpqua River was getting shut down by the ODFW. The biologist said, hey, there's not enough fish. We're seeing bad numbers. I've got a lot of people that reach out to me. I have people that still work for the ODFW, people that used to work for the ODFW that stay in touch with me. They know I'm not always just a hothead. If reason is brought to the table, I will respond with reason. But if reason is not there, I'll come axe handles a flying. And this was a case where what they were doing wasn't necessarily reasonable. I think in some of their own minds they thought it was, but they wanted to shut down the Umpqua River to Chinook fishing as a whole for the year. There's not enough fish. There's not enough biomass. There's not enough fish. It's global warming. It's AIDS. It's the COVID. It's, I don't know, whatever excuse you want to come up with, they will come up with some type of platitudes on why we can't do things. But enough people were impassioned, and I was impassioned, and guides were impassioned, and there was politicians working behind the scenes quietly that were impassioned, because that is a huge economic driver for the Winchester Bay area, the Reedsport area, little town of Gardner, which I don't think is a real town. I think it's a fake town put there by the government, because I never see any real people there. I think it's all government spies, and there's like a giant nuclear silo in the middle of it. I don't really, but all these areas are so influenced, all the way up to Elkton, up to Roseburg. Even our area is influenced by it. And when you shut down the Umpqua, all those places lose money. You send more people here. Yeah, in the short term, hey, it's great for Coos County. More people are coming fishing the Coos system for salmon. Now we've pulled more salmon out of that system. And then the ODFW looks at the numbers and goes, ooh, there's too much pressure on it. Maybe we need to dial it back next year. And there's these unintended consequences and trickle-down effects that happen.
Yeah. I
truly believe that some of them, probably most of them, were well-intentioned with, we need to close it down. But they're removed. They're removed from the workaday people. They're removed from the blue-collar folks that live to fish, that live to do these outdoor pursuits. And we talk about the economics of it. In the ODFW release, they had said, and this is what really got a lot of people hyped up, myself included, the economic impact on those areas will be minimal. Most people gravitate towards these salmon and plan their entire year around salmon fishing. As impassioned as I am about this, it's not really that much of a secret. I don't like salmon. I don't like fishing for salmon. I don't like eating salmon. I'll do it a few times a year because I feel like I'm obligated to by law.
Right.
But I have nothing to lose if they shut it down. If they shut it down, me personally, nothing. I don't lose a night's sleep. I don't miss any fishing opportunities. Nothing. But it's the decency, the morality of it, and it comes down to what's right and wrong. And I have this platform, I have this voice for whatever weird reason, and I want to use it for as much good as I can. And we got enough people involved, enough people that went at the ODFW and said, this isn't right. Here's why. Here's the economics. For me, it's always about the culture. I always come at it with other people will deal about the economics of it, because that's always the number one thing we go to, because it is the number one, probably most important part. But for me, it's the culture of it. One of the things I talked about when I was giving testimony, and it's like, I genuinely get emotional about this because I'm that passionate about it. I have seen in my 13 years here, I've seen people that are grandparents that take their grandchildren out fishing. I've seen parents that take their children out fishing. And I've seen children take their parents out fishing, and children and grandchildren take their grandparents out. It goes full circle.
Right.
And
Right.
I've even seen it to the point where children and grandchildren have taken out their respective parents and grandparents out for their last time fishing, like the last time as their parents or grandparents are getting old and dying, like we all are going to do. Hopefully we all get old before we die.
Right.
And seeing that full circle thing is like, it drives me with a passion. And I think it does with so many people. There were hundreds of people that responded to the ODFW that gave written testimony. There was very, very few of us that showed up because it was in Pendleton, which I got on the bandwagon too. Like, you dirty Nazi. What are you doing?
Why do they do that?
Yeah,
they do that all the
we're-
freaking time. They do that. And it's like at 9 in the morning, 9 in the morning in Pendleton. You guys can make that, right?
But hear me out. So I'm not an
We're from the
ODFW
Umpqua River,
apologist.
so we want to meet you in Pendleton. Yeah, that makes perfect
Well,
sense.
I'm not an ODFW apologist, but I always give credit where credit's due. Like I talk about the halibut season. They changed it from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So the working Joe that gets weekends off can barely ever go out and get halibut, and he gets one a day if he can go out on Saturday. They change it to 7 days a week. They change it to 2 halibut per day. They were really proactive in making it accessible to sportsmen. And I've always gave kudos and props to the ODFW for that. And I will always give credit where credit's due, and I'll always attack them where I feel they need attacking. And I brought up, I said, the fact that this is an 8-hour drive away from the epicenter of the area you're affecting is not lost on your constituents, and they're not happy with you. And a couple of them got kind of fiery at me. They were getting up in their chairs and they were like, well, let me tell you. And it was great to see. I took no offense to any of it, and they explained it. And this is a great story. So I was going to get ahead of myself, but so I brought that up, that everybody's just indignant that you have this. How dare you have this in Pendleton? I mean, how dare you have it in Pendleton? It's almost the furthest away. We had to fly. Thank you to Chris Boyce for flying me, getting me. Otherwise, I wasn't going to make it. But I brought it up. And essentially, here's what happens. Now, they did not know they were going to have this potential closure of salmon on the Umpqua. They didn't know till recently. You don't know the year before. You don't know 6 months before. I mean, you really don't know until you start getting closer. There's an idea it might happen, but you don't make that ruling until a certain time. And I understand that.
Right.
But those meetings are planned a year in advance. They knew a year ago they were going to be in Pendleton, so it had to be done in Pendleton. They had an ODFW meeting this spring in Winchester Bay, completely remiss on my part that I didn't attend or know about it. But at that point, when they had that ODFW commission meeting in Winchester Bay, they had no idea, or very little idea, that the salmon were going to be closed. So again, I give credit where credit's due. I'm owning up to this because I was egregiously wrong on that. And I am not a fan of the ODFW. Anybody that follows me, I've made more anti-ODFW memes than all the other human beings on earth put together. And I will continue to do so. But we made some ground. And I think we formed some relationships. And we opened some dialogues that I'm going to continue to pursue. And I feel good about it. And in the end, when we got down to that meeting, when we sat down, the biologist preempted us and said, we've come up with some alternative possible plans that we can implement without having to do a total shutdown. They're not ideal. They still, if they had their druthers, it would be a total shutdown. If we had our druthers, it would be a wide open season. And we meant more out of the middle, more towards what they would like, but it was still acceptable. 500 fish for the day, one person, you get one fish, that's it. It's kind of a sucky season, but it's still something. It keeps the stores active. It keeps the guides active. It keeps the restaurants active. It keeps the gas stations, the hotels, if I haven't mentioned them. It keeps all those people active. And the folks that have been coming down for years, I mean, it's generational. This salmon fishing thing is a generational thing. And there's people that have been coming down since they were kids. And they plan their vacations around that time of year. And to have this just abject closure just destroys people. It destroys your psyche. It destroys your will to fish. It destroys economies. It destroys cultures. But the ODFW preemptively came out and said, look, we have some ideas that we're willing to implement. And we got some of those. They and us, we got some of those implemented. And again, that is in no small part to the activity and the proactivity of the constituents and the people and the outdoorsmen, anybody that is affected by it, getting involved and making their statements known, making their hearts known. And it made a damn difference. And it was exciting. And we saw that years ago with Rockfish. When they shut down Rockfish, they gave us 72 hours notice. Hey, we screwed up on the numbers. We got to shut you guys down like across the board for the rest of the year. No one ever lost their job or got a hand cut off for that. And to this day, I still think someone should have. And when they had the meetings about what are we going to do come the new year? How are we going to approach this? What kind of seasons are we going to have? And we went to it and they were like, no, we're going to keep it closed till, like March or May or something like that. And we went and we spoke impassioned, and they, by their graciousness, they gave me a lot more than my 3 minutes to speak. I think I was up there for between 7 and 9 minutes. Again, talking about the culture, talking about, because they're disconnected. They're like, no, well, people don't like keeping fish. They just want to go out and have the experience on the ocean. The experience on the ocean, catching and keeping fish to eat. We are consumptive users.
Right.
But with the meeting, they changed it, said, okay, it's going to be an amended bag limit. We don't want to have a full bag limit, but we'll open up at the beginning of the year. And it was like totally kind of meeting in the middle. It was a great thing. But the biggest injustice in that meeting falls on the shoulders of the sportsmen and women of the state of Oregon. That took place in Salem. Salem's, it's a pain in the butt to drive there, but it's not like driving to Pendleton. There were about 20 people from the entire state of Oregon. Out of the untold multitudes of people that fish for rockfish every year, there were only 20 people that showed up, and about 18 of them were business owners. And the ODFW commission looked around the room and said, wow, we've never seen this many people show up before. I was like, oh crap, 20 people?
Wow.
How pathetic. There should be hundreds. And that was huge for them. That shows you how uninvolved the people have been. We have our lives. We have stuff to do. We can't all do it. No. But if 1/10 of 1% is active at any given time, not all the time, but hey, Bob, did you go to that meeting? Yeah, I went to it. I don't want to go to the next one. Tell you what, I'll go to the next one. If people can't do that, we can have those numbers. And I swear to you, I believe this with all my heart, that we can affect some change for the positive for everybody. I really do.
So the next time, what you need to do, hold on, Marty, sorry. The next time, the next time, what you need to do is you need to bring in some of us who are also on the other end of these issues, and I can probably get some more people to go. I wish I would have known more about this, and I apologize. I saw it going on, and I didn't realize that there was a public comment section.
Rob, you had nothing. Don't you ever apologize for something like that. Don't you dare apologize for that. You do so much. I'm serious. You put so much on your plate. You're so involved and you're so active. You can't do it all, but you're right. Better communication, getting the word out. We need to do that. That's a shortcoming on our end. That's my bad for not reaching out to more people.
You made the perfect point. Go ahead, Marty. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, as I was going to comment, I mean, it's like, I'd love to go to some of these meetings, but more often than not, I find out about these meetings like right now. I found out, there was a meeting I could have gone to. And I'm like I normally love going to meetings just so I can sit there and go, wow, I'm making some bureaucrat really uncomfortable, which is kind of making my day. Because, going out in the ocean... No. I mean, and it's like going out in the ocean and sitting around for 4 hours so that I'm going to look at a rockfish. No, the whole point is to catch the fish. If I go out for 5 hours at fishing and I come back to, say, Charleston or Bandon or whatever, and I have caught 0, I'm like going, what a horrible day. So, I mean, so the whole idea of, nobody's catching fish is one atrocity. And the other one was, there's a lot of these meetings where they have these meetings at the most inopportune times, and they're advertised on like a disused piece of tissue that they hide in the bottom of a locked filing cabinet.
Yes.
And I'm like going, how was I supposed to know this meeting was going on? Unless, of course, somebody lets slip that's like, by the way, there's a meeting. Like Val Hoyle had meetings in Coos Bay and Port Orford yesterday, and I was like, I found out about it, and then I read the small print, and it was like, by the way, it's just going to be some of my minions, and no, I'm not really going to be taking comments. I just want to see if somebody shows up. And I'm like, no, I actually wanted to go rip you a new one, but since it's going to be one of your minions, and they're not going to report back to you, then what's the point?
What's the point?
But yeah.
Go ahead.
I have to introduce you, Doug, to Michaela here. She just jumped on while you were speaking, and she's. It's funny. The last filming I did for Michaela was a meeting, and she is the what are you on the board? You're the
I'm the chair.
You're the chair. Okay, so she's the chair of the transportation district, and there was a guy there complaining because they never advertised the meeting, and Ben Edel kept asking him, well, where do you go for advertising? Do you go to the internet? No, I don't go to the internet. And he goes, well, how about the newspaper? We advertise in the newspaper. He said, no, I don't read that crap. And he goes, well, how about TV? And he says, oh, I haven't watched TV in years. And I felt like, well, you know what, carrier pigeon, dude? What do you get your news?
Smoke signals.
We get drop leaflets. It worked in World War II to a degree. I don't know. That's kind of propaganda. Now, can we talk about this dissemination of information? And I'm glad you brought this up. Sorry, I'm just jumping here again because, again, I get fired up on a topic and I can't stop.
Oh, go, yeah.
One of the things I mentioned, I said, well, how do we get this information to people? Like, how we didn't know that this is planned a year in advance. Right. Like, how help us to not hate you? I said, how do we get this information out to the people? And they said, you know, via our webpage and social media. And I kind of put my face into my hands and I looked back up and I said, I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if this is a big secret in this room, but your social media sucks. It sucks so bad. You have no idea. And it was great because 3 of the commissioners smiled and started nodding their heads like that. They all but came and gave me a high five. And other people in the room were like, oh yeah. So we kind of broached the subject that maybe there'll be some change there because their webpage, I don't know. I remember when the internet first came out, like 1980 or something. I think it was a lot more cutting edge then. Like, you've got mail. Wow, this is even better than the ODFW have now. They need to step that up. But I'm also going to take it upon myself to try to link to that stuff more and get that information out more and be more involved, which I don't want to, but I feel like I have to.
Well, and the odd thing is I get a lot of stuff from ODFW, but it's normally like and do you realize that you too can, or it's free fishing day on Friday, or you too can go out and hunt for elk. And I'm like, since when have I been an elk hunter and why would, but I'm getting the occasional emails or the occasional texts from ODFW. And I'm like, well, you have the ability to do that. Why can't you say, oh, by the way, we're having an important meeting. And then, if you're going to have it out in Pendleton, at least have the ability to do a video conference where you can say, oh, I'd like to attend this meeting, but Pendleton's not really in my back pocket. It's way the heck out nowhere.
They did have that. And I kind of brought that up too. I said, they have the Zoom thing. And I explained that Zoom is actually a brand of bait. So guys like me, Zoom meeting, we're going to sit down and talk about plastic blowers. That's great. So, there's that kind of disconnect there. But I think we can make a difference. I think we can get the attention of the people. I think we really did. There were enough impassioned people. If they just keep that passion going, even to a tempered degree, and it doesn't always have to be about salmon. It could be about, hunting. It could be about other fish species. This all ties in with all the politics and everything else that we deal with in Oregon all the time. This is all part and parcel of the same beast. It's just a different tentacle of it. And I'm going to try to take it upon myself to be more diligent with this stuff, because they did have the remote testimony. You have to sign up 48 hours in advance. I get that. I don't like it, but I understand it. Otherwise, what happens is it turns into a 3-day meeting, and everybody's sitting back drinking Coors Light.
Yep.
I like my Coors Light. And they're like, oh, you know what? This is stupid. I'm gonna call them right now. And then the meeting's not over for 3 days because all the drunk guys are out giving Zoom testimony. So they have to do it in advance, and I get it. And again, I'm willing to swallow some pride and maybe embarrass myself. And turned out I was completely wrong on this, but by golly, we're gonna try to make some changes here if we can.
And that's really the important part. Michaela's going back to the transit thing. It's another person who's trying to change a policy and direction in a board. And I'm just curious, Michaela, did the Republicans win that board back?
Well, I mean, the candidates, I think, who were endorsed by the Republican Party won, but that includes one Democrat, which is the same thing that happened in Coos County. No, we basically, all of the board members who had a contested race that were part of saving the transit district did not win their seats, which is disappointing, but it's okay. I think we were brought in there for a time to do something, and we did what we came there to do, which was to save the district. And I think that's actually going to be a really great legacy for the people who were involved in that. And now, they did their civic duty and they get to move on with their lives and maybe not have to attend so many board meetings and
that's true.
All this free time that nobody seems to really appreciate. So, yeah.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. We a little bit later on in the show, I want to talk about NVBN. I've got some videos, and I'm still trying to get that Todd Vaughn video up there. But I wanted to finish off with an issue that I know a lot of people have been interested in. But before we go to that next issue that Rob's going to cover for us, Rob, can you tell us? So what came of the meeting after all this? So is ODFW pretty much, are they going to have any more listening sessions, comment periods?
This topic's done. It's stamped for this year, and there is an amended season as opposed to a no season. Things will continue on as they have been. But we opened some dialogue. One of the commissioners, we talked about fishing. I gave my personal information, and he wants to come out fishing with me, and not salmon fishing, but something related to salmon fishing. And I would like to do that. I want to. One of the little projects I'm going to try. I'm going to start with this gentleman who's he's a commercial fisherman. He's a sport fisherman. I want to adopt an ODFW commissioner deal where maybe guides, sportsmen, we can take them out and be like, hey, here's the issue we're having. Come out with us. We'd love to take you out fishing let's do a field trip. Let's go out fishing. And you'll see what we're talking about firsthand. We'll show you the 10,000 seals and sea lions sitting out there decimating this species. And maybe we can control some of them. There's silly. I do my free fish giveaways. We catch a lot of fish. We harvest a lot. I process it at home and then we give it away. Love doing it. Love feeding people. Love teaching people how to do it. Was going to do it with mushrooms this past year. I was like, let's go pick a bucket of mushrooms and share with people. And just by some weird quirk, I started looking online well, maybe there's a limit to what I can do. It is illegal. Illegal. It is a Class A misdemeanor in the state of Oregon for any one of us to go and pick wild mushrooms and give them away to anybody that's not in our immediate family. Did you know that?
Wow.
No way.
I did not know that.
Bizarre quirk. I dug that out of the
I thought you were going to tell me you got arrested. I thought, okay, that's good. Yeah, okay.
No, that one would have been good news. All the detractors would have been all over that. But I mean, even something as simple as that, we need to change it. It's a silly little law that probably no one's ever thought about. I know everybody gives away mushrooms to everybody. I doubt anyone's ever going to enforce it. But if it's on the books, they can. So let's change these silly little things and streamline stuff. And if you get rid of some of that superfluous fluff that's on the books, maybe that makes way and room for other laws to be looked at as well. Hey, we're kind of on a roll here. These were kind of silly. Maybe these guys aren't just all being hotheads. Let's look at this one too. Striped bass. You can keep as many as you want. You can fish as many as you want, but it's illegal to use a gaff to bring them in the boat. You have to net them or use by hand. You cannot use a gaff because they're a game fish. Wait, the ODFW is shocking and electrocuting them to get rid of them. You can keep as many as you want. It's encouraged to destroy the species. But if you get caught gaffing them, you could potentially face a Class A misdemeanor. Let's change that one.
Let's change it.
So you're saying a DuPont number 2 lure is okay, but a gaff is not.
Yeah, well, I don't think either of them are okay. Technically.
And you did say adopt an ODFW person as opposed to abduct an ODFW person.
So that's okay. When I put that online, a lot of people are like, "You didn't say anything about bringing them back." It's like, okay, well, we have to put caveats in there.
No, but actually, that's a good idea because a lot of these people who are on these boards, many of them do not know the area in which they are in charge of. The Elliott Forest is a good example. Talking to these people on the boards, listening to the people who are on the state land boards and such, these people are idiots. Well, of course, the ones on the state land board it's the governor, the secretary of state, and I think it's the treasurer, but it's ridiculous. You got 3 Democrats on there. And so these board members don't have a freaking clue what's going on in the area that they have authority over. And so what you're doing, I think, is a really good idea to bridge not only the information, but getting people involved with what they're dealing with, because they don't understand these practical problems. You might be able to explain it, but maybe that's the what's the problem. They don't see it. They don't feel it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
I have my degree in advanced gender studies, therefore I should tell you how to fish.
There's some of that.
And there's definitely some of that. And so that's good to hear on ODFW. And if you hear any more news, let us know. And I'd be more than happy to go and testify, or, because they do these Zoom meetings and I can testify over Zoom meetings. That's cool too. But I got to hear about before, and I apologize, Michaela, if we're running a little long here, but I have to find out about this guy, Dowdy. This guy, Dowdy, is this drinking and driving guy who had multiple drinking and driving incidences and accidents. He wrecked into a school bus and killed 2 people, injured many more. And I'll let you take the story from there and tell us, where is he now?
He's still locked up in Coos County lockup. And I'm going to preface all this with saying that, unless you're an immediate family member, and if you're an immediate family member, your family screws up, you still have to be there for them. You can't condone. You can't defend. You can still be there for them, but you still have to admonish. You still have to. But outside of immediate family, anybody that's in this guy's camp, you're a piece of freaking human dreck. You are lower than the low. You're as much of a scumbag as Dowdy himself, and maybe even lower of a scumbag. It's an indefensible thing, what he's done. His actions leading up to it have been indefensible. Now, his ex-wife, now ex-wife, used to work for me. Just a sweet gal, hard worker. A student, just a good person. And I knew back then, and we actually at one point took her aside and said, look, your soon-to-be husband is a degenerate scumbag. Like, we'll get along, we'll be nice to him, be civil and stuff like that, but he's a degenerate scumbag. If and when the time comes, he gets pinched for any one of his number of poaching things that he was involved in. Now he has some poaching felonies now that have come about with all of this as well. Any of that ever gets made public. Like, I know you're not involved in it, but even if you're not, like, you're done. We will throw you under the bus as fast as we can. He was that much of a degenerate then. He's that much of a degenerate now. I could probably, and I'm not going to, and I have not made any of these people public. I probably know 6 to 10 people personally, like first name basis, how you doing, handshakes and hugs, that this guy has screwed over. I don't know what the draw is with him. He's one of the ugliest looking people. Even now they wheel him into court. I don't think he's showered since he's been in prison or been in jail. He's nasty looking. He's a gross human being, but somehow he smooth talks his way into people's lives, and he hurts everybody that he does it to. So I've had it out for him for a while. At one point he owed me like $800. This is a funny story. Do we have to let Michaela talk here? Should I stop for a minute?
No.
Okay. Okay. So he owed me like $800 because I let him run a line of credit because his soon-to-be wife was working there and he wasn't paying it. And it finally got to the point, like I said, hey man, I'm coming to take something from you if you don't give me the money. And whether it's organs, whether it's whatever it happens to be, I'm walking away with a trophy worth $800. So you need to pay me. So he waited. A couple days later, I wasn't at the shop. Coincidence of coincidences. He waits till I'm not in the shop, and he walks in with the money. He throws in the counter and goes, "Where's your boss?" Knowing damn well I'm not there. My truck wasn't out front like it always is. "Where's your boss?" "Oh, he's not in today." "Well, here's his $800. You tell him he's lucky he's not here." Sweet. My employee calls me, tells me that. I watched the security footage on my phone. It's like, okay, awesome. Dowdy didn't know I was at a sports show in Roseburg at the time, and Dowdy decided that afternoon to show up at the sports show. I saw Dowdy. I was like, hey, Dowdy, you want to talk? Come here. I'm here now. He was the scaredest chicken shit little cuck you've ever seen. He was going behind people's desks. He was going behind people's display. Like, he had nothing to do with these people, going behind them, trying to get away. Like, I wasn't going to flat out chase him. This is a venue I'm invited to.
Right.
But I still want to beat his brains in, or at least offer him the opportunity to attempt to beat my brains in. And I ran him out of the building. I thought, you little female dog. And that's who he's been his whole life. Yeah. Since this whole thing has happened, where he was so drunk. Now, he had, I believe, 2 or 3 Deweys in the couple months before this fatal accident, this fatal.
Okay, hold on. Just a couple of months. A couple of months before this accident, he's had, did you just say 3 Deweys?
Well, He smashed up and wrecked 3 vehicles under the influence of alcohol that we can confirm. Now, and there's, I think, 2 Deweys in that as well. So he was driving without a license for like the second, third time, driving without license, driving impaired, wrecked a bunch of vehicles. Typically, though, when you wreck a vehicle and you run and you leave the scene, you can't miss, even if you're drunk, you can't get a Dewey, you can't be pinched on the wrecking vehicle, because all you have to do is claim, yeah, no, I was so scared, I was so distraught, deer ran in front of me, I ran 20 feet down the road, saw a case of beer laying in the ditch, and I drank it and got drunk. You can't prove otherwise in court. We all know the truth, but so he kind of got away with a bunch of stuff, but he did have some DUIs, and he did have a suspended license, et cetera, when this accident happened. People were following him from Camas Valley up to the Powers turnoff, where this fateful, tragic incident happened. And he took the lives of these 2 women, and he damaged and scarred all these other passengers on this vehicle. The people that saw it, these people will be damaged for life. Now, people involved in that incident, parents involved in that incident, people that he's hurt throughout the years. I could not sit here right now and list off all the people that have reached out to me and thank me for just bringing it to light, because the media is only going to cover so much, right? The media is in it for money, and when the flash wears off, when the patina starts to come in and it's not as shiny anymore, they're not going to cover it as much. Just as passionate as I am with the ODFW stuff, I feel that way about this, because I've known he was a monster forever. I've had people reach out to me that are still afraid of him to this day. I've had women reach out to me, say, please don't tell anybody my story, but I need to share it with you. Some of his family members have reached out to me and said, I can't share this with anybody else, but I feel like I can share it with you. Family members that were affected directly have reached out to me. And the number of people that he has hurt is the more contact I have with these folks, the more driven I am to make sure that we stay on top of this and that people know about it. So he appeared, it was his 3rd or 4th appearance on Wednesday. It was going to be a change of plea as well as a change of bail potentially. So the change of plea ended up kind of going to the wayside, and it was a release hearing / change of bail. So he's on a $200 million hold right now. You have to come up with 10% of that to get out and walk the streets free until your trial. He doesn't have $200,000. He doesn't have $20. And he's such a liar. I have people like on his side. They're like, no, this guy, he's got a lot of money. He has a couple houses. He owns commercial vessels. Like, no. I know this guy. He has nothing. He has nothing. I mean, he's been on food stamps for the past 15 years, and he claims that he's rich. He has a public defender. They vet you. They do checks on you to make sure that you're not just trying to skim off the top of the system. I don't like that he has a public defender, but it's a system we have, and we have to operate by it. And I'm glad that everybody, even people that can't afford it, can have legal counsel. That is a constitutional right. So I'm glad he has it, but I wish he didn't. So he has nothing. He has nothing to his name. But right. He was trying to get a reduction from $2 million to $500,000 because, between friends, family, whatever, they'd be able to scrape up 50 G's and get him out on the streets. Well, I know the address he'd go to. It's public knowledge. Anybody can find it. I probably wouldn't give it out because I'd probably get in some kind of trouble, but I could sure show you how to find it online if you need. But the judge, and I want to say, politics aside, I don't care what the politics of our judges are. But every time, it's probably 6 times, 8 times with various occurrences, and including this one, that I've sat in a courtroom with some of our local judges. And the stuff that I've been privy to, they've always been stand up. I know there's other stuff that goes on that I don't know, and a lot of people don't like them for a lot of reasons, but every single thing that I have seen, they've been solid. And they've been so solid with this guy. So they proposed the $500,000. They proposed the $500,000 down from the $2 million. And of course, his public defender, he's a good guy. He's going for counseling. He does this. He has a couple failures to appear, but they sent the stuff to the wrong information. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. And the ADA, the assistant district attorney, like I kind of went he didn't look like he was mean, but he was like, Your Honor, we can't believe anything Mr. Dowdy says. We know he's a liar. We know he's reprehensible. I maybe didn't use the word reprehensible, but he called him a liar. He said, we know that the address that we sent all those appearance notices to were delivered to him because the address we sent them to was the same address that OSP officers showed up to while he was skinning 2 illegally poached elk on that driveway. So yes, that was his residence. Yes, he did receive those prior to his fleeing to Alaska, thus the failure to appear charges.
What a
so he did all that. He is the biggest scumbag in the county. And again, everybody that's friends with him, that, oh, you shouldn't talk that way, but you're a scumbag too. And you should think of ways to end your misery. And I could share a couple because we are an assisted suicide.
It's the company you keep.
It's the company you keep. But here's the thing. It's always the same guy. It's the Dowdy. We would have heard his name eventually because this was going to happen. Yes. And it did happen. And thank goodness it wasn't any worse than as bad as it was. And you know what I mean? But it's always the same people. It's like Henry Delaney, the guy over at Northwest Fitness, who was the rapist.
No. He did. All those girls, all those young women that have popped up in his life and said that he's molested them and stuff. No, they're wrong. He's right. Hey, if there's a pattern, it's probably for a reason.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Me Too movement a while back where anybody that had any like whispers of having sexual improprieties were eviscerated, except when it's somebody that must have a D next to their name, because now all of a sudden they're like, no, he's, all these women are liars, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, and he's never done anything wrong, and so forth and so on. And it's the hypocrisy of it just makes me want to,
I think it came hand in hand with the whole tranny
vaccines going.
Right? With the whole tranny thing we've got going on now, with the guys pretending to be girls and competing against them. It started with that. I don't know how it just all of a sudden morphed into that, but those things all started happening. And Me Too, we respect women. Unless you're a dude that pretends you want, unless you're like a psycho, sycophantic, hardcore leftist guy that wants to pretend you're a woman, then we have to defend you. So women aren't that important anymore, but you guys are. Wow, what a 180.
Yeah, what a 180. But I got to find out, Michaela, is this happening in Douglas County? All of the, with because you've heard about the sex offenders that we have found in government, in high positions here. Is that happening in Douglas County, or are we just sick out here in Coos County or coastal air? I don't know. What is it?
I haven't heard anything like what you guys have going on here.
Yeah.
But I mean, Douglas County has its own problems. They have bigger problems.
Douglas County is also a lot bigger too.
Yeah.
What was that?
Douglas County, I think, is also a larger population mass, more density, more traffic through with the corridor, interstate corridor and stuff. So the fact that you're not hearing that stuff there, and we are hearing this little coastal community, is pretty crazy for us.
Well, we have a lot of drug use. We have a lot of homelessness. Those are definitely bigger problems here. We have problems with our jails, though, too. There was a young man that just died. What was it, like a year ago, I think? While he was in the county jail, and he hadn't eaten. And there's some big scandal about him showing up to his doctor's appointment, and they discovered that he was dead in the waiting room or something like that. It's kind of crazy. So they're not perfect here. Well, they did an article on it. The News Review, I don't think, did any articles on it.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
The News Review doesn't do news that they review? What a surprise.
They have some connections to some elected officials, so.
Do you do a lot of fishing up in Douglas County compared to what you do here in Coos? Where do you fish mostly? And do you fish mostly in the ocean or in the river, Rob? I mean, Doug.
Predominantly the bay, but I fish a lot in the Umpqua, but I fish for bass species. I fish the coquille some, but it's totally become a bay thing for me because it's so close. We want fresh fish. When I first got into it, like we kept our freezer stocked full. When the big one hits and power goes out forever, we'll have food. And it's like, well, no, I just want it fresh. So now we just, whenever we want fresh food, we just go and get it, probably a few times a week. So predominantly on the bay. Douglas County, I do fish a little bit of stuff there. I need to do more, but just not enough hours in the day. Not enough hours in the day, days in the week, weeks in the month, months in the year. It's just not enough of them.
Right. And that's a problem for a lot of us. I don't know how Michaela finds all the time. She's got a political action committee she's dealing with. She's got a VBM and VBM movement going on, a whole statewide initiative. And we're going to talk about that because that is just mind blowing. But I got to find out, you're going to love this, Doug. Michaela was in Eugene at the trial where it was Judicial Watch trying to fight a proceeding where the state was trying to block them from suing the state, I think it was. And Michaela can explain it. And Michaela, tell us what happened, because I really didn't follow up with it, honestly. And I'd like to hear what happened there.
Yeah, so the state is trying to dismiss the case. And they're trying to dismiss it the same way they always do, based on standing. And basically what it is the Constitution Party, with the assistance of Judicial Watch, has filed this lawsuit against the state of Oregon for not cleaning its voter rolls. There is an act. It's NVRA, the
NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, which basically says you have to clean your voter rolls every 2 years.
Yep.
If they're marked inactive, they have to be removed after a certain amount of time. Oregon does none of the above.
Yeah, and the act was actually passed by Bill Clinton, so it's sort of funny to see the Democrats don't like it. But see, this is such a nonpartisan thing. To have secure elections is a nonpartisan issue. But yeah, so what Oregon has done wrong is they've failed to clean their voter rolls through several different ways. But what the argument is about standing is that the Constitution Party is a minority party, and by being a minority party in Oregon, they have certain privileges because they are they don't receive as much money, although the Republican Party in Oregon doesn't receive very much money either. But they get to have some I think tax liabilities removed. They also have they have less liability, basically, and they benefit from this financial status of being a minority party. And so their argument is that if the voter rolls are not cleaned, they risk not knowing not knowing how many voters there really are, whether they really are a minority party. And in addition to that, they're not able to successfully allocate their funds towards recruiting or re-recruiting Constitution Party members. So like members who are inactive and are never removed from the voter rolls, it's difficult for them to decide to target newer inactive party members for re-recruitment versus people who have been on there for 10 years and moved out of state a long time ago or whatever. So the argument is that they have an injury, basically a financial injury, because they are unable to properly allocate their resources. But from what I was listening to with the attorney that was making the arguments, some of these arguments that they're making are so above and beyond even the qualification needed to find standing that it actually doesn't even make sense for this to be challenged at all. Like, they obviously have standing. The way I was hearing it, it was like, give me a break. Like, why are we even talking about this? But you have to think about why do they want to stop this lawsuit? Just like they stopped the other lawsuit that Stephen Jonkis and Mark Thielman, actually Ben Edel was on there. My mother was actually a plaintiff, and then Terry Newcastle. So there are a lot of people that joined this prior lawsuit, and then they found no standing for that as well. And you have to wonder, well, why do they want to dismiss these cases for, and find no standing? Well, they don't want discovery. That's really what this is.
That's right. They don't want evidence to come in. They don't want those skeletons in the closet to come out.
Right.
I really don't want that discovery phase, because once the discovery comes out, I have cabinet files just chock full of information. I'm like, yeah, let me go get my U-Haul. I'll give you enough information to bury these people.
Yep. And they're not keeping those records. And you know, we so in Douglas County, we had requested to get the ballots from the 2020 election, and this was one of the pieces that was included in that Joncas Thielman lawsuit.
How much were they going to charge you? How much wasn't that the ridiculous charge?
It was geez, I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, but it was over $50,000. And what their justification is that they would have to hire someone to work for an entire year to redact every single ballot image to make sure that somebody hadn't accidentally signed their name on the ballot. Because if they did, then it would be revealed that that ballot belonged to them. I mean, our argument, Sam said $60,000. Yeah, $60,000. So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, our argument was, you're not supposed to sign your ballot. You're supposed to sign the envelope. And if you sign your ballot, then you're sort of forfeiting that privacy because everybody can see it. That's
and then the alternate article to that is, it is a public document. Once it has left your hands, once you've mailed it in, it is now a part of the public document that is election records. And if you wrote something on it that is going to, show who you are, well, that's on you. I mean, if you write the PIN for your ATM card on the back of your ATM card, that's on you. If you write your name and address and telephone number on your ballot and then somebody gets a ballot image, that's on you. That's not on the county to redact that stuff. I mean, the county redacted, I got ballot images in Coos County, and they wanted to charge an inordinate amount. And then I said, okay, fine, I just want redacted ballot images. And they said, that'll be $1,700. And so we came up with the money. And then when we gave them the money, they said, oh my God, we had a hard drive crash. We don't have those images anymore. And I said, well, that's going to be a problem for you, because now you got to rerun the election and get those ballot images back. And they said, we're not going to do that. And I said, yes, you have to. And so I got the DA to go after them. And basically the DA said, yes, you have to rerun the election. So then I had to sue them to get me the adjudicated ballot images. And it was like, finally we get to the point at the end of the trial where, and Judge Stone was really great about it, but Judge Stone was like, they got up in court and said, if we had the same ballots and the same software and the same machines and the same scanners, we could not get the exact same results for the exact same election. Yeah. And the judge was like, are you sure you're going to say that in court on record, that you can't rerun an election and get the same result? And they said, yes, we are, because they really did not want to give me ballot images.
Wow.
And then when they did give me the ballot images, they redacted them such that they spoiled them. They destroyed data of the actual races. I don't care if you take out the precinct ID. I don't care if you take out somebody writing their name on the ballot. But when you start taking out blocks of votes such that I cannot count these ballot images, then you're intentionally destroying data to keep me from verifying that this election was clean. And it's like, and the same thing with Michaela, where, they wanted to charge $1 bazillion. And so it was just, they keep coming up with these ways to keep us from looking at election results. They keep us from looking at signature verification. They keep coming up with new and improved ways to count ballots while we're not looking. And now it's like, and then you can turn a ballot in 7 days after the election with no postmark, and we're still going to count it. And I'm like, yeah, we have so much trust in our elections. Right. But anyway, Michaela, sorry I jumped in on you there, but it is Friday Night Rant.
You're exactly right.
It is Friday Night Rant, so I'm ranting.
That's what this is all about. No, you're absolutely right. But it's so this other financial issue, injury, I guess, in this case is the 5,000 hours. Again, they follow the same pattern every single time, just like what you were saying. They're going to charge you all this money. They were going to charge us all this money. They're saying it would take 5,000 hours to review the voter records or something like that, it would be a cost of $180,000 for what the Constitution Party is asking for. So once again, it's, time, money, all of these things that they're using to like block us from being able to see our voting records. But the nice thing is that people are starting to think outside the box and using this federal law in order to make Oregon do what it should have been doing this whole time, I think is great. The Secretary of State is saying that they believe it's perfectly okay to delegate their responsibilities to the counties, and the federal government saying no, actually it's not. You have to make sure that these things are done in a uniform way. And I think the cool thing is that we already know Trump is pushing for, for clean elections, for in-person one day with ID, all of these wonderful things. We know he's pushing for that. But I think that the Department of Justice getting involved and sending a notice on behalf basically of Judicial Watch for this particular case really signals a strong focus on Oregon. And I know we feel very left out a lot of the time, and we are, because we're a horrible place a lot of the time. Beautiful place. But I think Trump is interested in really helping us fix this, and it ties into what we're doing with NVBM. I think we have this really big momentum coming. I think it's building, and I think the closer we get to the midterms, in 2026 is going to be a make or break. That's a make or break election, and we're either going to fix this stuff or the rest of Trump's presidency is not going to be as effective as this beginning part has been.
Right.
So
we need to keep the House, the Senate, both. And traditionally the president who is whatever party he's with usually loses. And so that's what we got to fight for, is keeping the Senate and the House. And so, and once again in Oregon, I guess we're really not, do we have anyone who's a contender federally? Not really. I mean,
Well, and part of the problem is until we clean the elections up, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I hate to sound, I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer here, but honestly, do you think anybody actually voted for the people that we have, quote unquote, representing us here in Oregon? Because there's absolutely no way there's a lot of people out there going, I'm so glad I voted for that person to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. And I'm so glad I voted for this person that's going to give us an extra $15 billion in taxes this year when I'm, fighting to make ends meet. And, I'm really glad I voted for somebody that's like, let's talk about Pride Month. Let's not pay any attention to the fact that the largest fentanyl bust in the nation's history happened in Salem, right under Tina Kotek's nose. No. We voted for these people, obviously. No, we didn't vote for these people. And if you need more proof that our election systems are screwed up, there you go. You just got to look at that. I mean, look at all the bills they're trying to jam down our throats. These are not bills that they went to their constituents and said, hey, I bet you're really interested in transgender studies and tampons in junior high school boys' bathrooms. Or, you want to have your teenage daughters get the ability to have an abortion without parental consent, and if the doctor tries to tell the parents, he's going to be in trouble. Yeah, we voted for that. So, no, I mean, the whole problem is we have to fix the elections. We have to get back to one day in person, ID mandatory, citizenship mandatory, precinct level, hand counted, all that good stuff. And one of the things Michaela is running and Ben Edel and Jonkus are doing is NVBM. And if you go to nvbn.com, you can get all the information about how you can sign up and join the cause, because they're going to try to get it on the ballot and put it out to all the voters of Oregon. Do you think we ought to go back to a voting system we can trust? So
I have to address this comment from Lenny Ketchum. He says, I think we should keep each other in a little address book for when everything melts down. I don't know. I think he kind of brought that all together. That's what we're doing here, Lenny. We're keeping it all together. Like Doug was talking at the beginning of this. We all got our little niche. Michaela's doing her end vote by mail, which I want to talk more about that as well. But we're all doing our little things here, and we have to keep together. We have to keep focused on this, because what you're doing, Doug, ties in with what Michaela's doing. In one way or another, it all affects something, because what we're doing here is trying to change policy. Really, everything, when it comes down to it, we just want to change policy and get rid of bad policy. I mean, that's what you were doing with ODFW. They had one bad policy. We want to change it to a good one. Michaela wants to do the same thing with voting. We have a lot of bad voting policies. Let's change them. That's all we're trying to do.
And why do we do it? Because we love and because we care. Nobody's trying to go after anybody. Nobody's trying to, truly not. It's all an impassioned caring about others and ourselves. I can't read. It's on my phone, so it's tiny, tiny little things underneath. And I'm getting the odd thing. I'm glad you read that last one, Rob. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. Well, the next quote up is, the federal elections need to match our state elections. That might be a worry for legislators.
I have to talk about this point for a second, because this is the direction I'm thinking too. This is all strategy, you guys. This isn't just falling together for, an on accident.
No, this did not randomly occur.
Right. And I believe there may be some incentive to allow the end VBM petition to be successful, or in some other way. But I do think the petition's probably the way that they can solve this. If you think about it, if you've been cheating elections for years and years and years, you do not want to have a federal election and a local election. You don't want to have two different sets of voter rolls. You don't want to have two sets of ways of doing things, because when you compare those elections, the cheat becomes obvious, right? And so I think that if they see the writing on the wall, that the gig is up, that we're going to have either two elections or one election, I think they may allow us to go back and, do our in-person with ID and VBM petition. I think they may allow it to pass.
Interesting.
Well, it'd be good if it did. I mean, because here's one, it would throw into glaring. It would be so glaring if they had to have two elections just because the feds say, well, we want to do it this way, and Oregon says, no, we don't. Well, first off, that's going to go up against the feds, which means all our federal funding is going to be cut off. And why do you think they pass this? They're trying to pass this, 2025 bill, where it's like an extra $15 billion in taxes for us over the next 10 years, because they know their federal money is going to get cut off. Where are they going to get all the money for all their grifts and all their, all the things they're doing with our money that don't seem to actually come out to anything?
But the money is the leverage, though.
Yeah.
That's the total leverage is what they're using in those elections. They, you know what I mean? That's what, like Michaela was hitting on the two elections. I agree with you, Marty. It's
and it's like, and then we chuckled about Tuttle tokens, but that kind of money being shuffled around, and when you're talking about, they passed a bill that basically says all state business has to be done through unions. Well, who do you think is paying for that one? I mean, and it's, and as Doug was saying, I'm not here because I'm grandstanding and look at me, look what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, the fewer people that know about me, the better. But I'm in it because I live here. I graduated high school here in Bandon. I went around for the last 40 some odd years, traveling the world and doing things. And now I'm retired and I'm back, and I'm like, well, I can't fix things at the national level. And I certainly can't fix things at the state level, but I can certainly help fix things at the county level. And what we're trying to do is raise public awareness. The more people that know about this, the more people that, understand what we're trying to do, the more people are going to get behind us, and there's going to be more Dougs, and there's going to be more Michaelas, and there's going to be more Robs, and there's going to be more Martys. And pretty soon, we have to take this from the bottom up and turn this into a real grassroots effort, not the I'm getting paid $2 million a year to run a grassroots effort.
Right.
But, it's a real grassroots effort where everybody, if they just stood up and went to the windows and leaned out the window and yelled at the top of their lungs, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, then people will start to wake up. And that's kind of what we're doing.
Well, I'll take the Soros money, but I would take the Soros money. Well, I just don't follow orders very well. That's the problem. So he'd have to understand I'd be a ruthless bastard and I'd just still be doing what I'm doing. But, I'd be telling everybody, I got Soros money.
I'll take that money and I'll take that money and I'll still do what I'm going to do anyway.
Yeah.
I'll take that money,
I'm going to give it to ICE. I'm going to give it to ICE and have them deport some people.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, the money is the key, though. That is that, and we're getting squeezed in Oregon right now from all the ways that we violate everything. I think it was Wisconsin was just threatened that they were going to have all of their federal election funding taken away due to HAVA complaints, HAVA complaints. And I think that's coming to Oregon here very soon, I'm sure. And the other thing is you look at, not to change the subject, but the transportation package that they're pushing right now. That's to fill in all these gaps from the mismanagement that ODOT did with all of our billions of dollars that we gave them previously. And the scary thing is, and this has been acknowledged, so I only know about this from being on the transportation board, but ODOT is a little worried that they're not going to have the money that they, had before. They knew this was coming. They knew if Trump was elected, this was a very big possibility, which is why they've been working on this transportation package preventatively to try to get the state to cover, and all the people here in this state to cover all of the federal money that they would be missing. The great part about it is that people became aware of it and are saying, absolutely not. We can't afford this. We do not want to pay an extra 40 cents for every gallon of gas when we go to the gas station. This is ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. 40 cents. Yeah.
Criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal.
Yeah, we're only second to Washington and maybe a close second to California when it comes to cost per gallon because of how many taxes are put on at the state level. I mean, the state of Washington just ekes us out by a little bit. And California, well, they just implemented another big tax for their gas. So, Oregon, we're like second or third in the country for highest gas right now because
they're trying to make us first.
Of the taxes. Yeah, and the thing is there, ODOT lost $1 billion. Why isn't anybody going, where the heck did you lose that money? And why should we trust and give you any more money? Until you go find the money you lost, I'm not going to give you any more money. I mean, if I gave my kid a $100 bill and he lost it, he's like, Dad, I lost the money. I need another 100. I'm like, nope, sorry, you got to go find the one you lost before I give you any more.
No, first I'm beating his ass. Then,
well, there's that.
Yeah, let's get proper judgment here. Jeez.
Yeah.
Now we're on ODOT for a second. Have y'all seen that they're going to lower the speed limits on parts of Cape Arago, on parts of Virginia? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Tell me why you think that is. I don't think it's necessary, other than one of two reasons. Why do you all think that would be?
Revenue.
I don't know why they're doing that, but they're also trying to do the road diet in Bandon too, where they're going to cut it down to one lane from one end of the city to the other.
What?
Wow. Why?
They're taking 4 lanes
because
of 101 through town.
Yeah, they're going to turn Bandon into, instead of having 4 lanes, it's going to have 2 lanes like they did in Reedsport and screwed it all up. Remember how Reedsport had those 2 lanes going into town? It was really nice, and now it's 1 lane. Well, they're going to do that in Bandon, or at least they were talking about it again. And I heard about what they were doing in Argo. They were doing that somewhere else where they were going to lower the speed limit. And I'm thinking, isn't it already like 30 through there? I mean, it's
right. So now is it because of bums? Because they're worried about the bums stumbling across the street because they do all the time? Is it revenue generation? Because I don't see a lot of speed traps there. I don't see a lot of radar being enforced there. what reason could it be? I mean, that costs money to redo that, to have a session sit and discuss the laws and change those things, to have the signs printed up, to have people go put that stuff up. That all costs money that they don't have. Why would they do such a thing? It's so confusing to me, so frustrating.
Yeah. No,
well, here's the scary thing that I just read earlier today, that they are now, I think it's the state of Washington, but I could be wrong, but they have a way of tracking your cell phone data such that they don't have to have somebody there with a radar gun to show that you're doing over 30 miles an hour, because they can track your phone that's in your car, and your phone was doing 45 and a 30. So therefore, you were doing 45 and a 30. Here's your ticket, pay your ticket, or you can't get a new license.
Oh, that's not good.
Hard to prove driver versus passenger, or a litany of other things, though. But that technology, like you say, is there, and it's coming. It's coming. And every time we pick up those phones, and I do it myself, we are absolutely giving up our freedoms and our securities. We are. Those things are just databases for our personal lives.
Bring back landlines.
Yes. Party lines. You can creep out on your neighbors and see what they're talking about.
Phil Taylor, I think it was Phil here. Let me see. He was just newly elected. One of the few Republicans. Yeah, he says that HB 2025 is a terrible bill. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell the bill is. It has to do, it directs the Division of Audits to conduct performance audits for the Department of Transportation. And oh my God, I opened it up and it's a mile long. I'm not sure what the hell it does.
They basically tucked every tax known to man into this bill. It's like the gut and stuff thing, where on the surface it really doesn't look like much, and then when you start digging into it, it's like, wow. This is basically covering everything and the kitchen sink, and and the tax burden for every single person is going to be outrageous.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the transportation package.
It's called TRIP, and
oh yeah.
And they're getting so much blowback that one of the Democrats actually said, "I don't know if we should pass this. We might want to rethink it." So they took him off the transportation board. Wagner took him off and appointed himself to the board. So it was like, okay, how do you say you're super corrupt without actually saying you're super corrupt?
Well, all I can say is no Republicans better join this effort. If one Republican joins it and makes this a bipartisan effort, that Republican needs to be out of office, period.
Yeah.
Like, it's done, end of story. That can be a bipartisan effort of getting that person out, because this is ridiculous. It is going to hurt people immensely. I mean, this is such a huge financial strain. Families can barely afford to buy groceries right now. It's ridiculous.
Right. And for them to be passing it 40 cents on every gallon, do people realize how much money that is? How much every fill up? I mean, that's 10 gallons. I mean,
it's to get your bananas here, to get your eggs here. Like, it's all of the truckers that are bringing our food in have to pay for that too. All of the, that have to get to work. Like, it's so much bigger than just what we're having to pay at the gas station. We're going to pay that over and over and over again for anybody that has to drive in the system.
As expensive as fuel is right now, it is down substantially from the last administration. I'm not saying it's a connection there, but let's be honest. Yeah. Shortly after President Trump was elected and sworn in office, we saw prices go down. There's still a lot of flux. There's still a lot of movement in it. It's very dynamic, but it is still a lot less than we were paying. I look at premium non-ethanol that we use for boats and stuff like that. We're paying about $1.50 a gallon less than we were under the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. So now, hear me out. Here's the crazy conspiracy side of me. So the state of Oregon, with an E at the end of it, jacks up fuel prices by adding his extra taxes. It's so easy just to tell, wow, this is what happens under a Trump administration. This is what happens under a Republican federal administration. Fuel prices go up. And a lot of the people will just believe it because that's what they're told. Maybe that's part and parcel of it. They're not looking to generate revenue because they want to fix roads. We know that for a fact. The optics of it going back up, I think would undo some of the good that we've seen with fuel prices, et cetera, under President Trump's administration.
And you notice how they're not complaining about egg prices anymore? I mean,
oh
it's a
yeah,
similar thing where they
a month ago they were still, look, prices haven't gone down, and now they've just spiraled down, and nobody's saying a word.
I mean, we're talking 70% for eggs. I think I was paying almost $12 at Ray's, and now I'm paying just what it was before. It was $4.99. I paid for a carton of eggs. That's a huge difference.
Kids can afford the egg houses again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And toilet paper as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And people aren't rushing out to get toilet paper. And I mean, it's like Halloween is back. Toilet paper and eggs for everybody, you know? But, you know, it's like if it's not beyond the pale of imagination to say, yeah, they're jacking up the gas prices because they want to make it look like, oh, things haven't changed under the Trump administration. Gas prices are still really high. And it's like, I don't know if they do this at the pumps here, but I know at some locations they will actually print out a thing that say, by the way, of this, you know, what you're paying per gallon, here's how much you're paying in federal tax. Here's how much you're paying in state tax. Here's how much you're paying in local tax.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so the thing is of course they think they can get away with it because when they used to own mainstream media and there was only one message going out to everybody, then they could get away with stuff like that. And now the tide is turning and people are getting news from other sources. And, you know, there are other ways of finding things out. And so when they used to have the megaphone and you only heard what they wanted you to hear from them, then, you know, it was a different story. And now it's like, you know, the blinders are coming off. People are getting red pilled. People are figuring things out. And I think these are I mean, all the stuff that's going on in the legislature right now, I think these are a lot of really desperate, cornered, like feral animals. Like,
but
they're passing all these things. Yeah, but they're doing it because it's like, this is our last gasp because, you know, this is going to be probably the last time we can get away with it.
They just passed the gun bills. They just passed the gun. Before I go to the gun bills, though, Michaela, did we finish on the judicial watch? What was the decision by the court? I don't even remember if we got to that.
We don't know yet. So
okay.
Yeah, we won't know for a couple of days. Basically, they said they listened to is the case going to be dismissed? Everybody got to speak their piece, and I guess they're supposed to have in 3 days, you know, sometime next week, they're going to have a decision on whether it's dismissed or not. So we'll see how that goes.
And it'll be appealed. If it is dismissed, then they're going to appeal that. So.
Yeah. No, the guy that runs Judicial Watch he will not sue unless he knows he can win. So he already knew he was going to win this before he sued the state of Oregon. And then when Harmeet Dillon and the Department of Justice and all these civil rights attorneys for the Department of Justice said, and now we are very interested in this case, it's going to make it so much harder for them to dismiss this case because they are now under the microscope. You know, this judge is under the microscope. These,
I'm telling you guys,
all the people that are doing,
we have help coming.
Yeah.
We have help on the way. So
that's a good thing.
It's very exciting.
I've got to pick on the Republican Party. Steve Nye says, I'm not sure this makes sense. Why did Brainerd cancel the June CCRP meeting? And the word that I got, Steve, was that they were sick. There were several people on the executive board who was sick, and that's why they canceled it. And of course, Haim says the so-called Coos County Republican chairman canceled the meeting because he's afraid of change. And well, I think he is afraid of change, but I think there were some people actually sick. And yeah, they're going to have their July meeting, and they're going to be bringing in people. So it's going to be an interesting meeting in July.
That's what I heard. I heard it might be getting taken over.
It could happen. It could happen. And our side is not being shy about it. We're telling them we're bringing people in to vote out the current leadership. It's not working. And they got to go. And they don't have to put in anyone that we demand. They just have to put in whoever everyone gets to vote for. And that's all we're asking, is that everyone gets to come to the table and make a vote. And that's not what's happening. They're keeping people out of the party, and they're only allowing the people who are there to stay there because they're PCPs, they're their faction of the party, and they don't want the party to grow. So of course, and the reason they don't want it to grow is because they don't want to change. But of course, they're not going to let anyone else in. And it's sad. It's sad because they're losing elections.
Yeah. It's a systemic problem. I don't know what the solution is, because it seems to happen everywhere, unfortunately.
I think RUCPAC is going to be part of the solution. How's that going?
We'll see. It's going okay. I mean, we've only had one meeting. We have our next meeting tomorrow, and that will be at the library in Roseburg. Anybody is welcome to join, as long as they believe in the platform, the Republican platform, and they want to help us uphold that. So that's pretty much the requirement. It'll be at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
And you're trying to branch out all across the state, so you're encouraging people in different counties to get chairs for the county right now, or what's happening?
We're gonna start small, and we're gonna build some strength before we start doing chapters in every county. But ultimately, that would be the goal. What I really envision RUCPAC being is a place where the fractured groups, we have all of these activists, we have all these people with great ideas who are action oriented, they're doing things in the state, and they are working in silos. And what we want to do is we want to bring them to a centralized place and have them share their ideas and share what they're doing, and get the like-minded people involved, the action-oriented people together in one place to share these ideas and share these updates. I mean, really, what it is it's what the Republican Party should be. It should be for ideas and for sharing and for very positive things, instead of what we see it become, which is just a petty competition for scraps, because that's all it is, because we can't work together and win. So I want to see RUCPAC be a place where there isn't a limited amount of winning that can happen, where, like Trump says, we're going to get so tired of winning.
Right.
Well, that would be a nice change of pace. I would much prefer the tired of winning as opposed to the tired of waking up every morning going, oh, this crap again? Darn it. At least we turned the corner in November, and the first 100 days were great. And sometimes I get impatient, but actually my impatience comes from people that are like, they're like going, oh, how come all the people in Congress haven't been arrested yet? And I'm like, it takes time to build a case. Oddly enough, the Trump team is doing it by the law. They're building cases. They're doing it the right way. So it's going to take time, as opposed to the previous administration, which was, we're going to arrest you and throw you in jail without any way of seeing a lawyer or getting to a judge or getting to a court. So, a lot of people are impatient, and I'm a little impatient with the people that are impatient, but I think RUCPAC's a great idea because it's sort of the home of misfit toys. It's the place where people that want to be activists and have the idea that, we have a constitution and we have laws that should be followed, and and wouldn't it be great if we could hang out with people that have the same idea, as opposed to going to a screaming biddy party where it's like, it's like the little clique in school where it was like the nerds who were like too nerdy for the nerds, but they'd be arguing amongst themselves that they weren't nerdy enough. And it's like, okay, this is just not healthy. I mean, the way that Douglas County and Coos County Republican parties are running, it's just like, this is not an all-inclusive, everybody join and and let's all move in the same direction to do something useful. It's, I'm sorry, but you're not wearing the right pledge pin, so you have to get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And there's so many different directions we're going. It's sad that the party's not organized enough that they could capitalize on all these different issues and all these different movements, from Rob going to ODFW in Pendleton, to what you're doing, Michaela, to election integrity, what Marty is doing, and to what all the other people that I have on the show, what they're doing. If we could capitalize on that and build on those separate movements with one united group, some organization, whether it be RUCPAC or whether it be the Republican Party. I thought that's what the party was all about. Myself, personally, I thought that's what a political party did, was get people elected and got issues on the ballot. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but okay, so we need something like RUCPAC, and that's what we need to do, is focus on getting the right candidates elected. And when we say the right candidates, people who agree with the Republican platform. And it's really not that long of a platform. It's not that difficult. And you'd be surprised how, well, let me put it this way. Don't let people tell you what's in the platform until you read the platform, because I just don't think people realize it is what it is. It's pretty basic. It doesn't even cover a whole lot, which is good.
I love it. I think it's, it really is what Republicans stand for. And, the kind of cool thing is that during the COVID era, we did see a lot of people join and become PCPs and go to their first platform convention and go to their second platform convention. And so this platform has turned into a very robust, it follows a lot of, what Trump believes in and Trump's followers believe in. Honestly, that's what our NVBM petition is based around, is the election integrity platform or plank of the Oregon Republican Party platform. And that was such a wildly popular plank that they actually voted as a body to move it to the number one plank in the platform. So it's the first thing, it's the first subject that you read about, because it's that important to Republicans. And so, we're really hoping that the entire Oregon Republican Party, every single county, gets behind NVBM. It's exactly what they've been asking for, and we need everybody to help us get this petition across the finish line. So,
yeah, and is Danessa, who's your lead here in Coos County? You got someone here in Coos County? Is it Danessa?
She's part of RUCPAC, but she is also busy doing she's working on some other things right now.
She's always busy, yes.
I don't know how much she wants to necessarily take the lead in Coos County, but she probably will, because she's just that way. She just doesn't ever give up. She doesn't ever stop working. She's amazing.
I would imagine if I talked to Chris Castleman, we could do pop-up booths around the county, getting signatures, and it would, well, I'm being selfish here too, because we could use that for getting eye candy for our podcast. You know what I mean? We could get videos, interviews, people yelling at us, which I'd love. I'd love people come up. Maybe we could pay Rob to come up, and where he could put, Doug could come in. We could put a green wig on him, and he could come and yell at us, and film it. And it would be great, man. It would go viral and shit.
I love it. That's content for me too.
I got to interject here for a second. I hate to do this to you. So I got a neck injury. I go for surgery here in a few days. And I've about reached my limit right now for about the past 10 minutes. It's like, I don't know how much longer I can do it. And I got a fistful of oxycodone.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like the most popular guy in Coos County right now.
You are. That's right. We'll all be calling
I hate to do that to you, but I say this is my maximum sitting still, and it's getting to an unbearable point.
I got it. I think we're all just about there, but thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all so much. Keep fighting the good fight. This was enjoyable, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. You take care. All right. And then there, wow. How did that kind of got large there.
The three dots thing where it zooms
there
in
we
so you
go.
can see how many hairs I have in my nose. That's great. Now that's good podcasting.
Well, and Michaela, I had asked you to come on, and I had asked Rob to come on first because I never know when he's going to be able to do this. So I was kind of like hoping, okay, so if I can get her on, it'll be great, because sometimes he cancels at the last minute and stuff because he's very, very busy. He goes out hunting, fishing, killing stuff. It's a beautiful thing. And so I thank you for coming on and being second to him telling his stories, because I knew he probably wouldn't be able to sit here very long. He's Mr. Outdoorsman. I'm amazed that he's able to sit very long for any period of time.
Yeah. Well, it's no fun having surgery, but hopefully that goes well for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should know. Yeah.
You were going all over the country with your neck thingamabob. And
I know.
How's that working out?
Yeah. No, I just got back from DC. I was there last week for my 3-month post-op. So.
Oh, that's wild.
I thought you got invited to the White House. You were having dinner with Trump.
I wish. I was hoping so. I was looking for signs all over the place, but
that would have been neat. That would have been neat.
Yeah, someday maybe I'll get that invitation. I will.
Elon sends over a self-driving car. It can drive you from wherever you are to the White House automatically. It would be great. I mean, that's my idea of a good day.
Well, the nice thing is I think if we can get this on the ballot, your organization and the VBN is going to really make the news. I think it's some.
Nope. And she just appeared.
And she's gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think,
that could be immigration. That's what we're going to tell them, Marty. Immigration came into the room and took Michaela.
Well,
Michaela sounded too much like Michaela.
Michaela. Where's your green card, Michaela? Yeah, but probably just lost your connection. But I was going to say, NVBM is a big thing.
It just takes me out.
That was weird. Okay.
Yeah, well, we just kind of figured an ICE agent showed up at your house and was like going, Michaela doesn't sound like an American name. We're going to have to arrest you.
Yeah. She's got too much tan on her. Yeah.
I was at the lazy river this week. I'm a little bit burnt.
You do look a little burned, but you look very colorful, though. It's you're doing well. It's all right. It's all right.
Oh man.
Go ahead.
I think NVBM it's probably gonna take off here pretty soon. And we, just to give you guys a bit of an update, because I really told you what's happening. We have been in a back and forth with the Secretary of State now for 2 weeks, where we're trying to get the final petition approved, certified, so that we can start collecting signatures. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to go through this dumb process of telling them on a form. So you have to fill out a specific form. You have to tell them what you want them to add to the signature sheets, the cover sheet. So we wanted our address, our email address, and our website. That's it. So we submit that. They send it back to us and say, okay, now here's the form. You need to bring the final form into the Secretary of State's office, an actual physical copy, before we'll approve it. I'm like, that makes no sense at all. You have a printer. You can, why are we doing this? This is a waste of time. But that's their process. So that's what we have to do. Well, I noticed that they transposed 2 of the letters in our website. So it would have messed up all of our petitions. And I'm thankful that I recognized that got messed up. I don't know how. They should have just copied and pasted what I put on my form. But regardless, I had to go and resubmit again to get the approval so that they would redo the form so that we could
well, hold on, Michaela. So this was definitely their fault, right?
Yeah.
You can prove it because I know you got to turn in an original, right?
Yeah, it was 100% their error. And they fixed it. They quickly, fixed it when we figured it out and turned it back in. But we had to follow that whole process again and, put our document back in, or the SEL form. And so then we got the approval. It was right. Ben took it into the office in Salem and said, listen, we don't want any capitalization in the website. Can you just make those lowercase, because they had some capitalization. And so they said, sure, no problem. We'll make the change. Don't worry. You don't have to fill out a new SEL form. We'll just make that change for you. So they emailed us today and said, yeah, you don't have to fill out a new SEL form, but now you have to print this new version and bring it back into Salem.
Oh.
Yep. So
how is
well, wait a minute. Wouldn't that be like the original version, though?
You would think, but it doesn't matter because they made us print it without any errors. We have to print it, bring it into them. It makes no sense. It seriously makes no sense at all.
Yeah,
but,
and then once they have the printed one with no errors, what do they do with it to transcribe? I mean, it's like at some point they're going to have to scan it. I mean, if I can buy a house using DocuSign, I don't have to show up anywhere to turn in papers. I can buy a whole house using DocuSign. Why can't they do the same thing with this? Filling out SEL forms, and I've done a lot of SEL forms.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, well, and first off, tell Ben that websites are agnostic when it comes to capitalization.
I know.
Web servers don't know the difference between upper and lower case.
It's about what it looks like to him. It's a branding thing. I get it.
Oh, I know.
But what is frustrating about it is if they would have told him, this is going to require you coming back into Salem and dropping this paper off again, he probably would have said, don't worry about it. Let's just get it certified.
Screw it. Right.
Yeah.
They emailed us today and said, oh, you have to come back. So he had to drop everything and drive back to Salem and drop it off. But he did. He got it in today. But of course, they didn't certify it today. It's probably coming on Monday, which is another weekend that we miss gathering signatures. And I feel like at some level, it's getting a little ridiculous. So that's where we are. But we're just going to have to make up for that lost weekend. And I think we can do it as a state. So.
Oh, yeah.
Good. And that's what people don't understand is that every time you have an error or there is an error made, no matter who makes it, it costs the chief petitioner time on getting the signatures.
Yep. That's the goal. Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been through it several times, and it's worse when it's local because then it's even a shorter window. It's cut down drastically. How long do you have? You got like 2 years, don't you?
No, we only have a year. And just a little bit less than that. We're gonna have about 11 months by the time we get the petition going. So it'll be, the cutoff is gonna be June of 2026. So
why so short?
That's how much time we have.
Oh, I thought you got 2 years on one of these things.
They do them every 2 years. So, but we didn't start our process until after Trump was elected. That's when we decided to do it.
They changed it. They changed it on the way they schedule it for a vote. It used to be 2 years and then it would go for the next vote. Now they changed that, didn't they? That was what changed with it.
I know we could have filed earlier. I want to say maybe September. And what would have been great is if we could have gotten the sponsorship signatures more quickly. But it is what it is. We pretty much were like, okay, Trump's in, and he's already hinting that he is going to require in-person voting for federal elections. And we're like, it's now or never. Like, it has to be done. It has to be done with the midterm. Like, we got to go. It's go time. I'm like, honestly, if people care enough about this, they're going to go out and get those signatures. It's only 155,000 signatures. We can do this. We just need people to help. And I already have so many people who have reached out and who are interested in helping. And, now that we have these petitions, we have enough contributions to get the 25,000 printed pages or whatever. It's like some ungodly number of pages that are going to be printed. But we have those. We're going to start mailing those out to all the county parties. We're including not just the Republican Party. We're going to include the Constitution Party, the Libertarian Party. I just joined an event for the Libertarians in Portland. It was really nice of them to invite me. And we're going to get that, over to them. I want the Democrats to join this too. This is a nonpartisan effort. We actually had several Democrats join in as sponsors for sponsorship signatures. So, I really hope that we can get all of these people working together and do something to save the state. Because I think we can. I really think it's possible.
Yeah. I think we got to keep trying no matter what. You know what I mean? What we think, what we know is kind of irrelevant at this point. It's a fight that we have to fight, and win, lose, or draw, at least we can say to our children and we can tell the world that we did something when, you know what I mean, when this was happening. We're watching this happen, and it's just infuriating. It's
this may not be the most efficient way to get things changed, but it is a way to get things changed,
right?
And things need to be changed. And there are times when I'm doing some of the stuff I'm doing where I'm like going, wow, I seem to be wasting a lot of time and I don't seem to be making a lot of progress. But at the same time, at least I'm doing something. And the whole point is that if you expect things to change and you do nothing and nothing changes, you shouldn't be surprised. So even though it seems like I'm doing ineffectual things at times, it's like, well, at least I'm making small bits of progress. And, I remember when you guys started off with this NVBM stuff, it was like, well, if we get it on the ballot, will it get passed and so forth and so on. But what it does do is it raises awareness and it allows a lot of people that have been standing on the sidelines and sitting in the bleachers hoping that something's going to happen to actually have something they can rally behind and be enthusiastic about and say, wow, look, there's all these people that are getting involved in this, and I want to do this too because I believe things need to change. And so sometimes all it is some people just need a little nudge. And I think this is going to be a great nudge. So
that's the goal. Get everybody talking about it. And Rob, if you scroll back down to where you were just a second ago,
sure.
This is such a cool thing. This legislation, the blueprint for mass election fraud. I don't know if you've taken a look at that, but click on the red button to get the intel.
I like the fact that it goes through every single piece of legislation. Yeah. I'm actually using that for some of my Dr. Frank stuff where it's like, and here's the legislation that they are violating now. And it's like, but it's great because this is the laundry list of every piece of legislation that's gone down. And it's like, as you said earlier, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts where it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to do this. It's not going to make that much of a change. And then we're going to add this onto it. Oh, and then we're going to do this. And the next thing you know, it's like, okay, I don't even think I can participate in an election anymore, can I? Because it really doesn't matter. You really can't prove to me that my vote was ever counted anymore. I mean,
well,
and the best they can do is say, yes, they received my ballot. There's no way they can prove that my ballot got counted.
Exactly. Yep. And this goes through every single piece. I mean, it is really neat it's horrible. It's terrible what they've done. But to actually see it piece by piece and go, wow, okay. Yeah, this is how they took Oregon.
Yeah. And it's like the same thing. I mean, when Obama got into office, you're like, well, there's some changes going on, and then next thing you know, it's like, okay, after like 10, 15, 20 years, we're like, how in the heck did we get this far down into this hole? And then you
Yeah.
look back and you go, well, in 2012, when they repealed the Smith-Mundt Act and they allowed the government to make sure all media was a propaganda agent for the government, and then it's like, okay, well, yeah. And then it went downhill from there. And you're like,
Yeah.
but I like the whole, I mean, when you said it's neat, I agree with you. It is kind of neat because it is the one-stop shop for how did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get this far down this hole?
And this research is important because no matter what happens here, whether we're victorious or not, somewhere down the road, this information is going to be out there for other people to use for whatever battles they need it for. And I know this because I'll hear people tell me all the time, not all the time, I'm sorry, I'm really blowing that out of proportions. Every now and then I hear people tell me, wow, we read one of your articles. We were looking up on YouTube about this subject or that subject, and one of your articles came up, and it was the only one who talked on this subject. And that's because there's so many people who don't want to write on the boring things that are out there. And, you know, I'll write on tax issues and stuff. No one cares about that. I'll write on, property tax and boring stuff like that. School boards. No one cares about school boards. Unfortunately, they should. But, that's what I write about. And I do that because I know people are going to go back to that stuff and say, hey, there it is. And it's on my website as well. And it's cool that you got it here because people can now use it. That's a good thing. Very good thing.
Yeah.
Well, what you're doing is you're documenting history. And the thing is it's very difficult for us to figure out how we got to where we are right now, and especially for people who are just joining the fight, because I know I haven't been in it very long. It's been 5 years really since I got involved in things, and just the 5-year ramp up that it takes to understand all of the different, players in the game and like everything that's going on in the background. And so much of it I'm missing because I only have, 5 years, but having those articles that you can go back and look at and you can see patterns of behavior with people, patterns of voting, our elected officials, where they've jumped around and how they've played, an instrumental piece and, whatever piece of legislation, or, whatever it may be. And those details matter, that the devil is in the details. And when you can go back and you can verify those things, Rob, what you're doing is a public service. More people need to do that. We need to be citizen journalists, and we need to document, we need to journal, we need to be able to access our history, especially in our local communities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's something I know Marty even does. He was talking about being a little behind on the articles that he's writing for the curious case of Coos County. And I don't know, Marty, you do a great job of cataloging all the stuff that happens here, and I appreciate that.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
Marty. Where are you?
Maybe we can't hear you, man.
Sorry, I had my mic turned off so I could chug a beer without making a lot of noise. Sorry.
Good for you.
Yeah. So it's the curious case of Coos County. I'm so many articles behind on that. And plus I'm working on a few other odds and ends while we're doing it. And it's like, we're trying to, you guys are trying to end vote by mail. I'm trying to educate people on hand counting and how we can get back to no machines. And, and there are other things, but yeah, I was talking to Rob the other day and I'm like, I've got 3 or 4 articles in the hole that I've started writing for the curious case of Coos County for Audit Oregon. And it's just like all the things that have gone on. And it's just, I write them so that other people, and they go, oh, well, that's, that happened in this county. And I'm like, oh, yeah, go to this website, read these articles, and then, you can get up to speed, because some people are coming in late. They're like going, wow, I mean, I wasn't really paying attention. And then all of a sudden I found out this, And then I found out that, and can you get me more information? So that's why some of the stuff on NVBM is so important, and some of the stuff on the Rob Taylor report is so important, because it's, as you were saying, we're chronicling history, and we're kind of laying out breadcrumbs for other people to follow us.
I shared the where's the Curious Case of Coos County, the first 2 articles. I don't know how many times I have sent that to people because they were wanting to know about how how did we get to this point? Well, guess what, Marty has a whole article on this stuff. Let me send it to you. And boy, it makes life so much easier for me when I'm able to do that. So this here in NVBN, who compiled this? Michaela, was this Ben?
Yep.
Wow. Good job.
I don't think he slept for 2 days.
Wow.
I wrote an article the other day. I wrote an angry article. You know what I mean? It's one of those where you're trying to be objective, but in no way you're being objective, and the publisher isn't going to print it because Rat Bastard just really isn't even keeled. I don't know what the hell's the matter with these people.
What typeface should I use for Rat Bastard? Are we going with Times Sans Serif 14 point, or are we going for the full
all capital? All capital.
All capital, yeah. All these editorial details you have to go through. So.
Yeah. So so I know what Ben, you get on that thing where you're working on something like this, and it's all coming out in your head, and you don't want to go to sleep because it's just spewing out on the pages, and that's the creative mind, and that's what's good about this, though, because who else is going to sit there for hours and put this kind of work into something that, you know what I mean? Once again, it's the library board. Who cares? Snorbills, you know what I mean? But you have to do it.
Well, that's the funny thing, Rob, is, we were just asked the other day if we're doing this to make money. And I just laughed.
Yeah.
I have put so much of my own money into this effort. I have missed out on time doing things like having a hobby, having a life, having, anything that would be better than spending time on this stuff. But I feel so called to do it. It's so important. And, I got sick of sitting there and waiting for somebody else to come and save me, and I know that all of us feel that way, but it's just incredible to me that people think that there's any sort of benefit really to doing this other than doing a public service. You get attacked by people who are supposed to be on your own team. You get in the newspaper. You get all of these horrible things coming at you, but we do this stuff because it is a passion, because this is so important to us, because we have these firm beliefs and we love our country, and we just need more people to step up and be brave and join us. Help.
Yeah, one of these days I want to get back to a regular life, if I can figure out what that is anymore. So it's just like,
Marty.
Yeah, because it's just, I've been so head down on a lot of this stuff, and it's just, I was pondering this earlier today, and I was just like going, well, what happens if we actually do go back to clean and fair elections, and and things go on as they should, where you're like, I have belief in the election system, and we're back to the constitutional, and law of the lands and fair justice for everybody. And I'm like, God, what will I do with my time? I mean, I guess I'll have to go back to playing golf and fishing and flying a plane and, actually enjoying my life and going on vacations and stuff. I mean, I don't know if I can handle that. No, don't make me do that. I'd rather just sit around and crank data and bitch and moan. I mean, that's what I'm doing best now.
I'm sorry. I'm just too compulsive. I see nonsense going on around me, and if it didn't affect me, I really wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Who give a damn? But it directly affects me, and that's why I got involved. And it's the further you go, the more you know how corrupt it is, the more you know how the system is rigged against you, the more you understand that the system slowly takes really good people and turns them into really bad people. And it's sad to watch, because sometimes they're people who you're friends with, these people, and you watch them go through the grind, and it's sad. But it has to be done, because that is the position our founding fathers kind of put us in. I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's working too well in England, but maybe we should go back to the king. They did have a No King's Day, right? Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
They got another one coming up on July 4th. So yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's another one. I know.
Yeah, well, and I saw somebody put up a poster that basically was a picture of Stephen King, the author. And I'm like going, well, if you have No King's Day and it's that guy, I'm all for it. I'm not a big Stephen King fan. So no kings, no more kings, no more bad horror novels, no kings.
So I think I put up the, let's see if I got this now. Let me go back to Ruckpack and share this. Bloop. Am I sharing that on the screen? No, of course not. I'm not sharing that. Okay, there it is. Ruckpack is having the meeting tomorrow, and people can find out about that meeting on this website. Is that true, or am I making it?
News. If you click on news, there is click that Ruckpack reorganization. That was our first mailing notice that went out. And it has, there you go, date, time, and location for our meeting tomorrow.
It's in Roseburg at 1409 Northeast Diamond Lake Boulevard at the Roseburg Library.
Yeah. And bring your photo ID, because we are going to credential people, and we'll want to know who you are if you join.
Oh my gosh, you're a bunch of race. No wonder ICE took you off the air, you racist. Asking people for IDs.
Yeah.
It was funny. Chris Castleman, someone had challenged him. He was at the boardwalk when the leftists were there, and challenged him about the IDs, people being asked for IDs to vote, and that was a violation of their right. And he says, well, I have to show an ID to get a gun. And they thought about it and were like, well, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. It was like, yeah, See, so yeah, people have to show an ID for stuff. Right,
people
wrong,
have to go into this Judicial Watch hearing that just happened, Rob. They were asking for ID.
Oh, whoa. No shit. That's hilarious.
When the Democrats had their Democratic National Convention, they had a fence that was like in a 5-block radius around the convention center, and they had 2 levels of fences and 2 levels of security. Not only did you have to have credentials, but you had to have your ID to get in. And I'm like going, hold on, this is from the party that says, borders and fences are racist and ID is racist. But to get into the Democratic National Convention, you got to cross 2 borders and show ID both times. So, yeah. I mean, when you go to the airport and you fly anywhere, what's the first thing they do? TSA will have you go through a scanner, and then they will have you show your ID or your passport or your real ID now, I guess, and they will do facial recognition. So you're saying it's more important to to be a passenger on a flying bus than it is to vote in a national election.
To them, that is true.
Yeah, you need more verification to be on a flying bus to go from point A to point B than it does to direct where democracy is going.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
That's about right, and that's the world we're living in. And so glad you folks are there doing stuff. Marty, is there anything going on with election integrity? Any meetings happening? Anything we should know about?
Coming up, obviously not today, but not next week, but the week after that. We're probably going to have something in the works with the hand count folks and the Citizens Restoring Liberty folks, and maybe the NVBM folks, maybe we can get Michaela to come over to Bandon and have a meeting, and we'll have like a whole clam bake, a whole showdown, a hootenanny, and we'll cover all the topics, in vote by mail, hand counting, whatever it is. We need a new Republican Party in Coos County, all sorts of fun stuff. But that will be not next Friday, but the Friday after, I'm thinking, and I still gotta work out some of the details. So that's basically what's coming up, and of course I'm off to Roseburg tomorrow morning, so that'll be fun.
Yay! We're glad to have you.
Oh, and I hope hide and seek champ. What time is the meeting tomorrow? I think I shared that, didn't I? Let me share that again and put that up here.
It's 11 o'clock at the Roseburg Library.
11 o'clock at the Roseburg Library, and you can find it at RUCPAC reorganization under the news icon up there, and there it is, right there, guy. There it is. That's more than you'll ever get on the local Republican website. It's actually functions.
RUCPAK.org, I believe, right?
Yes, .org. Did I say .com?
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but anyway, ruckpack.org. Check it out. It has a news section where you can find the date and time. He's going to have to skip the Glide Bigfoot Festival. Oh, no.
Oh, that is freaking hilarious. I didn't know Glide had a Bigfoot Festival. That's interesting.
Either, actually.
You should have a petition at the Glide Bigfoot Festival, damn it.
I would have one if they wouldn't have messed up our petition 15 times.
So let me ask you, are you going to be at the Rally Around the Flag event in September?
Is that the Eagles one?
Yes, Bob Soden.
Yeah, I would like to. What's the date of it?
It's September, gosh, I'm thinking 6, but I'm not confirmed on that. But I know I'm going to be there because Trevor Loudon is going to be there, and so is Dr. Frank. And I want to be able to get a picture with both of them, and that would be really cool.
Speaking of Dr. Frank, he is going to be in Oakland. Hold on just a second. Let me pull my calendar.
July 5th. He's going to be in Oakland on July 5th.
You're right.
Yeah. No, yep. I'm behind the scenes on getting that organized because, well, every time Dr. Frank comes to Oregon, I have to get involved in some way. So,
and we're doing an interview, aren't we? Did they just say anything to you?
Oh, well, we're doing an interview on July 4th. We're still hammering out the schedule of where he's going to be on what day because he's all over the state for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so initially we had one plan, then it changed because somebody wanted to do a meeting up in Lincoln City. So there was a Salem meeting, and then there was supposed to be a day off, and then the Oakland meeting. I think
Lincoln City is on the 6th. Aren't they doing
it is now. But initially what they were saying is like, okay, there's a Salem meeting, and then on the 4th he's going to have the day off, and on the 5th it's going to be Oakland. And then they said, oh, on the 4th, we're going to send him out to Lincoln City. Marty, can you pick him up and then take him down to Roseburg? And I'm like, do you know how far Lincoln City is from Bandon? I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Different part of the coast.
Yeah. And I'm like going, okay, so I'm going to drive 4 hours up the coast, pick him up, drive 4 hours back down to Roseburg. Yeah, you guys need to reorganize your schedule here. And then one of the meetings fell out on the 6th, so we rescheduled Lincoln City for the 6th because he needs to be up in Portland on the 7th anyway, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, and in those general areas. But yeah, in Oakland on the 5th, and it's a morning meeting. So it's like at 11 a.m. and I can't remember the name of the location, but it's like some historic church.
Yes. Let me pull it up because I do have it. And I can probably... How quickly can you get this up, Rob?
Well, I
can share it right now if you can put the file up. You can share it from your end.
Can I text it to you?
Or you can text it to me.
I actually should have the flyer from Samantha here somewhere. Just a sec.
There you go. I texted you both of them. We'll see who's faster. You or Marty.
No, boy, it's a test.
Where is my
I've been
file
drinking,
browser?
damn it.
Where is my file
I
browser?
swear, officer, it was just one can of beer. Oh,
yeah, but it was actually a 55-gallon drum, but who's counting?
Yeah. Okay, I didn't get my. Oh, there it is. There it is. See, I got slow internet service. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I thought the hotel
Okay,
had
how do
already
I
been
get this
figured out.
Okay, so how do I get this to me? Oh my gosh, this is like a test here. We're doing a test. This is a really cool poster, though. This is all right. I don't mind sharing this.
Yeah, this is a test. This is only a test. If this were an actual emergency, I would not be sitting here telling you what this is a test. So,
come on. I just sent it to me, and it still hasn't come. So it's
yeah. Oh, I know where I can pick it up.
Well, I talked about it. It's at the Calapooya Community Clubhouse, and that's at 141 Scott Henry Road in Oakland. And yeah, it's from 11 to 3. If you haven't been to a Dr. Frank event before, he goes through the data. So it is very, data driven, and he gets into the details. It's very interesting, actually. But it does take some time for him to explain exactly how these elections are being manipulated. But it's very good stuff. Really worth the time. I'm going to be there for sure.
Oh, hey, I think I've got this.
You got it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. I finally found it in Signal, and I was going to download it and post it, but it looks like you got it.
Got it. See, aha.
You beat me.
Yeah, there we go. So, damn. That was a lot of work to do that. I'm tired. That was my brain. I had to think and stuff. It was difficult. Late at night.
Well,
I'm old. But Dr.
I'm
Frank,
curmudgeon level 2.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Oh, I'm curmudgeon level 2. I'm past. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn. Now I'm like, now everything aches and your music's too loud and get off my lawn.
The worst part is we're not even playing any music. Oh, that's scary. Never mind. I'm gotta go inside.
The tinnitus sounds like loud music. But anyway, yeah, so Dr. Douglas Frank, if you haven't seen any of his Follow the Data sessions, and I've had 2 of them in Bandon, and we did one in front of the Coos County Commissioners where he actually had a professor from Stanford come in and try to refute what he was saying. And the professor from Stanford, who was a statistics professor, argued with him for about an hour and a half and essentially proved that Dr. Frank's models and data were absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the funniest thing ever, where it was like, he went through this whole thing where he was trying to make a mockery of him. And he was like, and see, if you look at the data like this and look at the data like that, and, in statistics, this is an S curve. And I'm going, and the S curve essentially just proved that Dr. Frank's data matches your data. Therefore, you've proven Dr. Frank correct. Way to go. Nice. There was
a quote, the quote, and I can't remember exactly how it was worded.
He said, the guy was like going, it's just that, there is no way that this data can be that, there's no way that this data can turn out that way. And, this proof could turn out that way. But yet, I proved it. Yeah.
He's sitting there telling them it can't happen as the chart is right there. And his charts, his data points matches the charts that Frank has. And it's like, and he's telling us that can't happen as it's happening. And yeah, he did.
Yeah, it fit the same curve statistically. But yeah, I mean, he has given a lot of lectures. He is the Johnny Appleseed of, of election integrity. He travels all over the country. He works a lot with Mike Lindell, and he was actually supposed to testify in the Lindell case, and at the last minute they decided that they were just going to close the arguments because this whole Lindell case is about defamation. It's not about election integrity. It's about the fact that Mike Lindell said that Coomer, the guy that ran Dominion, uh, was basically, Coomer basically said, "Don't worry about Trump. I'm going to make sure these machines don't let him get elected." And Lindell was like saying he has all the data of the corruption, and Coomer sued him for defamation, saying, "Oh, he's ruined my career, and it's he owes me $500 million." And so this was that case. It wasn't a case arguing election integrity. It was, did Mike Lindell, defame the guy?
Right.
And no, he didn't, because he honestly thinks this guy is a scumbag, and he
Right.
is. So, it was an interesting case.
Yeah.
But it got a lot of national attention, and now that, the FBI has come out and said, "Oh, by the way, we now have all this data," where the FBI was burying data in August of 2020 that said China had printed all these ballots with, to throw the election to Biden, and all this other data that's coming forth. I mean, what was the other one that I thought was funny? It was the Congressman Hamadeh. Basically, he said, "Oh, and we have some serious problems with Runback, because Runback are the people that handle all the ballots and do all the mailing for the vote by mail states." And it's like, oh, and then we found all these issues with Runback, and now they're, he just posted a thing 2 days ago saying, "We're going to start looking into Runback now and do an investigation into those guys." So now they've got Runback under the gun. They have the people that used to run the FBI under the gun saying, "Yeah, we published all this data about China printing ballots, but then we went to every single person that we sent this report to and got it back because we didn't want them to read it." So entertaining stuff. So the tide is turning. But if you can make it out to Oakland at the, how do you pronounce that one? Calapooia Community Clubhouse?
I can't read it.
No, it's Calapooia, and I'm like, Calapooia? What are we in Hawaii now?
I'm hoping they can see it on TV. Oh yeah, okay. Now I can read it. Once I do the full screen, it's great.
Yeah,
okay.
It's in the yellow thing, but it's right next to this really cool historic church. And so, yeah. But if you haven't been to one of his things, he actually goes through all the data and shows how in Oregon they have a certain churn rate in every county, and they have a certain change in voter registrations in every county that march in lockstep. And it's like, the county shouldn't be changing all the voter registrations at the same rate at the same interval, because that's not how it works. So it means it's being controlled outside of the county level.
Right.
And then you look at how many people, it's like Coos County. We had like we only have like 70,000 people that are registered to vote, and yet somehow 4,000 people are moving in and out of the voter rolls every year. I mean, that's a huge churn rate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, I mean, we're not Salem, we're not Eugene, we're not Corvallis. We don't have a lot of people moving in and out. We mostly have like a lot of curmudgeons like me that are like, "We're here and we're staying here,"
It's
try to get me off my land. Good luck.
Marty, it's the correlation of the registration of voters where all counties sync within the, what was it, a 30-year period between the times that we started mail-in voting to now. I mean, the way they sync up and they all become one line, that's just statistically impossible. That has to be mechanically controlled. I mean, and you can tell by the way it was before vote by mail was put into place. I think it's just overwhelming evidence. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. And the nice thing is he shows all the graphs, and he does it on a county-wide level, and he shows basically he lays it out in such a way that you don't have to know math, you don't have to know statistics, you just have to kind of look at it, and he describes it in such a manner that you look at it and you go, wow, you're right, this just ain't natural. This just doesn't make sense. You know, it is an algorithm. There are ways they are manipulating this. And what's the best way to manipulate? Well, let's make it all vote by mail, so everything is obfuscated.
Obfuscate it. There, we tried.
Yeah,
to
we had a hard time saying this one last week as well.
Obfuscate it.
Obfuscated.
Yeah. So say this word right here.
For that.
What? How would you say that? Algorithmed.
Yeah. It's like the Atlanta rhythm section, except it's how you manipulate data. So it's like the Atlanta rhythm section, except you manipulate data. So it's all algorithmed.
Yeah. Thank you. Very interesting word there. Don't use that around children, please, Samantha.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so we're doing algorithmed and obfuscated because this is the best time in the podcast to use words that are this complex.
That are very difficult. We're using the difficult words now just to show how
need to
much
get into the
have
single
been
syllable
drinking.
words like.
I have not been drinking.
Okay, we want to point out that Michaela has not been drinking. Please make that known publicly.
Yeah, and I'm on beer too. And if you know me, it's like beer too. I mean,
beer too.
Beer too. Yeah. What the hell is wrong with him? He's got it.
Yeah.
He got like.
I only had one can of pot, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. You're drinking the what is it? The Mary
Jones.
Mary Jones. There you go.
Yeah.
The Mary Jones. It's
cannabis infused from Herbal Choices.
So it's grape It's grape juice with cannabis.
No, that's lemon lime.
It's lemon lime. Ooh.
Yeah, it's the blue can.
Cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a sponsor?
Is it carbonate?
They're a sponsor. Yeah. Very good sponsor, and I'm a very good customer, and they're the best dispensary in all of the county. I can honestly say that. It's funny. I know all the people at the stores. I don't know if that's a sign. You might have a habit if you know all the people at the stores, and they know my name. That's the scare. Hey, Mr. Taylor. Oh, hello. The usual.
Coach Taylor, how's it going?
Yeah. Coach Taylor.
Coach
that's
Taylor,
my
how's it
favorite.
going?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of them I used to coach. They went to school with my son. It's funny. So, what can I say?
They're responsible for all this great content, Rob.
Yeah, that's what it is. I will call the owners and let them know. But it's funny you say that. I met the owners, the gentleman who the husband of the couple who owns it, Jim. He's a big Second Amendment advocate, and I met him at a Second Amendment rally. And when he was trying to get the dispensaries weed legal to sell, I worked with him because there was a lot of the hippy dippy type that were coming in, and they were trying to really mess with the retail end of it and stuff. And so, but it was really interesting that you would meet a pothead at a gun rally, and
It's America.
It's America. Freedom is freedom. That's right. So this is happening on July 5th, which is going to be interesting because there's a lot of things happening on July 5th. That's a busy weekend in Douglas County.
Mm-hmm. All over the place, but yeah.
Oh my, that's going to be, wow. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Traveling from here to there. That's going to be fun.
Well, they're having another Antifa rally on the 4th, right? Isn't that what you're saying? So.
Well, they are having another Antifa rally. And is it on the 4th? That's interesting because that's a Friday then, if they're having it on the 4th. And I think you're right, they are.
Well, it's the 4th of July. I mean, I think it gives them excuses to have flaming projectiles.
Yeah, well, there you go. You're gonna have fireworks, flaming projectiles, paid for by the same people that brought you the No Kings protests. So, yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Especially up in the Portland area. You know, Gresham is crazy on 4th of July. Like, they do not care that it's not legal to do aerial fireworks. It's like a war zone there already. So,
wow.
Being a protest with that, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. That will be an interesting day.
Well, we had a pretty successful rally on Flag Day. That was June 14th. And there I am with the lady who organized it, Linda. And she had organized it originally at noon. And we realized later that the leftists are going to have a rally at noon. And we already knew that they way outnumbered us, even though we're a Republican county. They seem to outnumber us in the protest. They're just much more organized than we are. But we did have about 30 people show up for a flag wave. And Marty was there. And, of course, there's Joe.
Oh, I haven't seen Joe in a long time. I miss Joe.
Joe's been great. He didn't go to the last wind turbine meeting, but the one before last, he was really giving them hell. At that meeting, he was really grinding them about the things that they weren't talking about. And so I like having Joe at the meeting. He's once again, that old curmudgeon that's going to, wait just a minute there, Sonny. Let me tell you something about them wind turbines.
Well, and he used to do this kind of stuff for a living where he was, so he basically knows how to push the buttons and how to find the subjects that make especially with the DLCD folks, where it's like, it's like going, well, have you considered this and then he just went through this laundry list, and then, I mean, at the last DLCD meeting in North Bend, we basically showed up and they looked at us and went, "Oh, you guys again," and we went, "Yeah, oh, you guys again." And we're like, you mentioned that you're supposed to take an off ramp when you find out that nobody wants these wind turbines. When are you going to find the off ramp and get the heck out of here?
Yep, I found the off ramp a long time ago.
That's always a good look. That make sure that the make sure I'm round and profound. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I was trying to hide. I was trying to hide by wearing tie dye and driving a Prius. I figured the leftists wouldn't even see me coming.
There you go. There you go.
I love it.
We showed up in a Prius. That was pretty undercover of us, wasn't it? That was pretty stealth-like. We could have gone to the earlier rally. We're in a Prius. Leave us alone. We got American flags. We'll hang them upside down for you.
I'm wearing tie-dye.
Yeah. I think, well, I can't go to the leftist rallies because they hate me so much. It would turn into a riot. It wouldn't be good. And I just know this from experience, and it's not good for me because then I always end up either fighting or yelling or cursing with somebody. And that's the 15 seconds you see on Facebook for the next 4 years. And I called this activist a shit-licking bitch after 4 hours of them yelling at my face and screaming at me. And they just kept pressuring me to whatever it is they want you to do. You know what I mean? And they were just saying the most god-awful things. And, you just get annoyed and pissed off at these people. And, I just said something as horrible as that. And, of course, it's as horrible as it sounds. And that's the video play that goes back. And, of course, they don't show the 3 hours of them yelling and cursing at me. And, by the way, she had a line of kids in the parking lot yelling, F you, Rob Taylor, F you, Rob Taylor. And that's how she lost her job as a dance instructor, because all the parents saw her with those little kids in the parking lot of this where they had the rally. She actually brought these kids. That's how she was recruiting them.
Wow.
And yeah, it was quite the scene. So that's what kind of saved me. After, if that wouldn't have happened, the whole shit licking bitch would have been really blown out. But once they did the kids in the parking lot saying F Rob Taylor, I won on that one. So
the truth will prevail.
yeah.
Yeah.
The wild times we had in the 2020s. I can't wait to tell my granddaughter, yeah, we had these Antifa things, these Antifa kids, and we'd be beating up on the Antifa kids, and we'd be thinking we'd be doing a good thing, and pull off their hood, and it's a blue-haired girl.
I don't know how other generations are going to believe that we tolerated some of the things that we tolerated. So.
I know. They're going to look at us nuts, man. Yeah. Well, what's scary is what are they going to be like if the generation now is this extreme? What is the 20-year-olds going to look like 20 years from now?
They'll probably all be wearing 3-piece suits and being voting Republican, and because you kind of I look at it from the standpoint of I'm the youngest I'm way younger than most of my siblings, and so they were around in the Vietnam era, and they were in Vietnam protests and stuff like that, and they are long hair hippies, and and the establishment was like, oh my God, these long hair hippies and so forth and so on, and then it was like, there's always a pendulum swing where it's like, okay, it's it's like, what happened to all these long hair hippies that were fighting the war in Vietnam? They turned into super bleeding heart liberals that are now like fascists and communists. And now they've, and their kids turned out somewhat normal, and they were the greed is good generation. And then their kids turned into the blue haired transgender, gotta be mutilated. And I'm like, wow. I mean, there is there was a slippery slope that just, at some point it got out of control. There's got to be a reset somewhere, but I'm not certain how it's going to work.
I don't know. Hopefully the kids now remember, all of the restrictions that were put on them. And, those few years were pretty bad for young people that weren't married yet and were just trying to start their lives. And I mean, think of like the experiences that young people missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
One of my kids didn't go to kindergarten. He missed kindergarten. The other one missed being able to, go to middle school and have a locker. Just have a normal, middle school experience. And then the older kids. I mean, think of the ones who didn't get to have a normal graduation or a prom or go away to college and just all sorts of things like that. I think it's going to have a big impact. I don't think that we're seeing it right now with the generation that is involved in all this Antifa crap. Right. I think the generation coming up after them, I think it's going to be different. I think we're going to see a major shift.
I think we're going to see a major shift too. It just seems to always happen. And yeah, I think it's going to go to a completely different direction. I think Marty might be right. They may go ultra conservative, and then I'll be sitting there, those damn Republicans wanting me to keep my pants on and zipped up. What's the matter with these damn Republicans?
We just agree to just be libertarian. Let's just do
there
that.
You go.
Well, and the odd thing is, for 20 years I lived in California because I was working in high tech and running stock market stuff. And I was not registered as a Republican because I thought, what's the point? I mean, California elections have been, if you're not Democrat, you're not getting elected for a long time as well. And so I didn't register as a Republican because being in San Francisco and being in the Bay Area and Oakland and high tech, having an R next to your name is a great way to limit your career potential. Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to hire a Republican. So And so I was essentially the California equivalent of NAV, which was NPP, no party preference. And then I got up here, I registered as a NAV, and then got to talking to people around here, and it's like, oh wait, it's okay to be a Republican. So yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and register as a Republican then. But I lean more towards libertarian. Deliver my mail, defend my shores, and stay the hell out of my life. Yeah. And I'm not really that convinced about my deliver my mail part of that program. And then, well, defend our shores. Yeah, if we get attacked, defend our shores. But be world police? Screw that. Stop that. There's no point in that.
Well, we have a battle going on within the Republican Party between the libertarian Republicans and the authoritarian Republicans. So, that's happening within the party, outside of the party. It's happening. I mean, the Democrats are dealing with it somewhat too. You look at, what a 70s liberal was compared to what it is now. Those are a lot different because you were talking about libertarianism. You were talking about freedom, valuing liberty over control. And I think that honestly, that's always where I'm going to fall is in, giving more liberty. That's what I want. I want freedom. So,
there was an interesting bill that came out of the legislature. Are you familiar with SB 1062 that takes away the voter authority over the utilities, water and sewer, those two utilities, away from the voters and gives it to the cities, going against the city charter that was placed in by the voters? So the legislators basically did change city laws with state legislation. And that just happened to 3 specific cities in the bill. These 3 cities were mentioned: Bandon, North Bend, and Reedsport.
Wow.
And the bill had really, for the city, it was about raising rates and being able to have the authority to raise rates, because now they're going to do it. We know they're going to do it. That's why we put the measure in the charter in the first place. And I was one of the people who worked to keep the measure here in Bandon. We were the first city in Oregon to have that law in the charter, or that ordinance in the charter. And I think I may actually have a lawsuit here because the state is interfering with city charter, and there is precedence in the Oregon Constitution that gives charters a certain authority that the legislature may not be able to take away. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but this is more about.
Sam just posted a note that says that's against Article 4, Section 10 of the Oregon Constitution. Yep. And since she's teaching classes in Oregon Constitution stuff, I'm like, well, she probably knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. That's crazy. That bill, I looked it up, that was sponsored by Dick Anderson and Boomer Wright.
Yep. And I sent an article over to Northwest Observer that's supposed to kick out. Hopefully he's going to print it. It may be kind of too biased for him. Like I said, I was one of the people who had to sue the city when the city created a fake emergency. You're going to love this, Marty. They created a fake emergency in Bandon. At the council voted for this emergency at the behest of the manager who created this fake emergency, saying there was a water emergency. They needed to raise the rates to fix the problem that was happening at the water facility. It was not true. There was no emergency, but the councilors knew it, and they voted for it, and they raised the rates against the charter. I sued them, and I won in court. I won a summary judgment. My lawyer didn't have to spend 1 minute in court, and I got my lawyer's fees paid for. It cost the city $30,000, and it costed another $114,000 to pay back the money that they took from raising the fees on the water rates.
Wow.
Samantha's correcting her article. And so this really goes against what we fought for, and to have Boomer Wright do this and Dick Anderson. And I'll be putting that video out as well of the work session and the let's see, they had a public hearing. They had 2 public hearings in both houses, and they had a work session in both houses. And then I got the floor speech, and the only one to speak against it, you're going to love it, the only senator to speak against it, Noah Robinson.
Good job, Noah.
Yeah.
And David Brock Smith voted against it as well.
Oh, he did?
Really?
Smith, yeah.
I find that surprising somehow.
Well, you know what? You got to give him credit when he does good
Got to
things.
give him credit.
So we want to see more of that, David. Do more good things.
Yeah, it happens so infrequently. I'm like, oh wait, hold on. He did something that's good. Oh, I'm so used to him not doing that.
So I believe that bill could be unconstitutional and could be challenged.
So you know what's also concerning, because now I'm digging into it. I'm looking at all the testimony. The only testimony in support of it came from all officials.
Yeah.
So the city administrators, David Miller, he wrote 2. It looks like at least 2 different ones, or maybe I clicked on that twice. And then the city of Reedsport, Deanna Schaefer is the city manager. She wrote one, and then the mayor of Bandon. Is that?
Yep, Mary Shamhorn.
Yeah. So that's crazy to me. It wasn't even, there wasn't even any support from the citizens. It's all elected officials.
I didn't even know it was happening. So what they did, and you know this by the testimony, and like I said, I've watched it all. I'm going to put the video out. I got to put it all together. And I got an article dropping. But what happened is that those city officials contacted Anderson and Wright and told them that they are not going to be able to do these public housing projects if they don't have the infrastructure at these facilities. And Anderson and Wright, they supported that urban renewal project in North Bend, and they support the other public housing project in Bandon. And so to get those projects done, they're willing to go over the head of the voters, pass this law, which benefits the city because now they can increase the rate so they don't have to keep pulling money from the general fund. And that was the reason we passed the initiative, because they were misappropriating the money in the general fund, especially through their urban renewal agencies. And the only way we could put a check on them is to put that ordinance in the charter, giving voters authority over the utilities.
Yeah,
so was that 1066 then?
1062.
What was the
1062?
1062. Okay.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. I noticed too, the testimony to oppose is all coming from the utility boards, all from the water boards and the electric boards. So
they weren't opposed to the bill as far as it taking the voter authority. They just didn't want a separate committee, such as an electric board committee or a water board committee, losing their authority to the city board. And the way it's written now, it's still kind of funny. I'm not sure if that still got in there the way they rewrote it. It's kind of confusing, but it's like a 3-paragraph, 1-page bill. It's very simple. And it's, like I said, it's just for 3 specific cities. It's very strange unless you understand why the senators would want it and the different reason of why the city would want it. One wants the fees for the money, you know, and then you got the legislators who want it for their housing quotas and housing programs, because that's how they get grants through. And they even admit that that's how they get the grants through for these housing projects.
Well, you got another legal battle.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yay. Woo.
Wow.
And so I'll call some group. What I'll do is I'll call the Pacific Legal Foundation and see if it's something that they would be interested in, because, you know, that's how I've been successful. I found a big backer who's willing to fight it if they know they can win. That's usually the caveat.
Yeah.
And so if I can bring them something that I think they think they can win, if they take it, I love it because I know it's going to be one fun battle.
It's always a party with you, Rob.
I try. Well, is there anything else? I mean, man, we sure did uncover a lot for tonight's show.
We did cover a lot.
Yeah.
The only other thing I have is, for NVBM, we've actually raised a good amount of money. And even in the last couple of days, we've had a lot of people donate, even like a small amount, like $25 goes a long way. Like I said earlier in the show, we've been able to raise enough money to get our 25,000 petitions printed, and we have enough for some mailing. We got confirmation that we got our Oregon State Fair booth, so that's kind of a pretty penny, but we got it and we can fund it, so that's really exciting stuff. But the thing that we're looking for right now is to be able to print our signage for the fairs and our literature at the fair booths, and not just for the fair booths, but also to send out to the counties. So that's the next step, that we need to fund that. So if anybody can find it in their heart to, give $20 or something towards us getting things printed for the state, that would be amazing. We've already had wonderful people step up and do that. But this grows as people help and as they give. So if you can go to nvbm.com, if you can give anything towards the movement, that would be awesome. That's my big ask right now.
All right.
And there's an obvious link on nvbm.com on how to donate.
That says donate.
I think there's a big red button that says donate, but I just wanted to point it out in case somebody was like,
Yeah.
Well, how can I donate? Well, go to nvbm.com and click on the big red donate button. Thank you.
And I actually don't like the term donate, because it's not a donation. You're contributing to saving Oregon. And so I'm asking people, please contribute. And if you can't contribute or your money, then contribute time. You can volunteer. You can be a volunteer at our fair booth, or you can collect signatures in your area, or you can share the posts with other people and get the information out. So we can contribute in a lot of different ways. It does not have to be monetarily. Time is. I wish I could trade money for time sometimes. But
I'm going to put a challenge out there. I want to challenge anyone out there who's listening for at the very least 10 signatures. One signature page. That's one signature page. Get us just 10 signatures. If you don't have the balls, you don't have the cojones to go out there and get 10 signatures, really, come on. How can you say anything about the fight? I mean, $20. If you can't give the $20, get to 10 signatures. That's really all we're asking for. And that should be 10 for 20. Either give the $20 or go get the 10 signatures. But you all want to be part of the campaign. Why do they call it a campaign? Because it's a battle. This is a battle because we're trying to change policy. The policy is wrong. It's unfair. It puts people who are not shouldn't be being able to take advantage of the system in the place of being able to take advantage of the system. We want to change that within vote by mail, and you can help us out. 10 for 20, 20 for 10, $20, 10 signatures. It sounds like a pretty damn good deal.
I love it. I think we're going to steal that. Great, Mark.
Okay. You got it. I was drinking when I did that. So yeah, you're okay. Yeah.
Yes, probably.
Hey, you want to stay with us as I go through my sponsors, because we got to go through my.
I'm going to hop off of here because I've been neglecting my children, and I have a wonderful husband who's been taking care of them. So,
Steve, you rock. Thank you for the comments. We love you, Steve.
Big thumbs up to Steve. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Michaela. Good to see you.
All right. So let's go through the sponsors here. Let me add to this. Oh, that's not my
3H Tree
sponsors.
Service. Yeah,
There we go.
The sponsor is not the big lime guy. No, it's 3H Tree Service.
I think I even got I got a commercial here. I know I got a commercial here. Oh, I got to play this because this is hilarious.
The falling trees.
Yeah, I know Matt would love this, and I stole this from another podcaster. It's the Benny Show, but it was so damn funny I had to steal it, and here it is.
It's been 3 days since I escaped. They're still looking for me, so I only travel at night. Ooh! I am starving, but I did manage to take a bag of chips with me. I will eat just one chip so that I can keep going, and I will save the rest for the starving little ones. I also got a drink from the flotilla. The little ones will do better with water anyway. I'm sure they won't mind. Yum, this is delicious. It's day 4 and I'm not sure if I will make it to the strip. I can't go on. I fear this may be it for me. Cameraman, take one of these slices of pizza and go without me.
And who's ready for a couple?
And that was the Benny Show video there. I want to give him props for that. Yeah, she's starving there. Poor Greta. She is starving out there on that boat. It's a sad thing.
Dare you?
How dare you?
She heard you.
I know.
How dare you?
3H
Tree Service for all those tree needs. Yeah, I know. They're sitting at home watching this going, oh my God, what is he doing? 541-294-1800. If you need to get those trees taken out of your yard because they're a liability, they've got branches hanging over your house, your neighbor's house, maybe your neighbor's car. You don't want them falling on your neighbor's car and you have to pay for it because you really don't like your neighbor. What can I say? Well, it's okay. You can call 3H Tree Service at 541-294-1800. And they can take out those trees with surgical precision. I tell you, surgical precision. And you won't even know that they were there. And they will leave you with a nice, clean view. What do you think of that, Marty? Makes you want to just go out there and pay them to take down all the trees now. That sounds so good. But
I know. It sounds like well, I thought you were going to have the video of the hard rock and roll music while they're topping trees. But I'm fine with the 541-294-1800 3H Tree Service. If you need to take out some trees with surgical precision, like dropping a dam buster in somewhere in the Middle East, you can do that. Unlike dropping a dam buster somewhere in the Middle East, 3H Tree Service can take out a tree and leave the ones around it not even annoyed.
And that was 3H Tree Service. Good group there. I like that video. I like that video. Monday, we're going to play Where's 3H Tree Service, where if you go out on Mondays and they're in the middle of the game, you got to find out where they're at and locate them, and you might win a prize. Where's 3H Tree Service? And look, there's Jody Hoffman. He won $50, and Nancy, she won $50. But it's not just $50. They gave away a quart of wood. But I saw the wood because Jim Bice, the old radio guy, he won it. And I mean, it was way more than just a quart of wood. I mean, it was like it filled his whole side of his house there. It was incredible. So
nice.
Yeah, very nice. Other sponsors, Tommy Gigs. Go over to see Tim and Shanna, the owner of Tommy Gigs. Really nice people. And Tim can take care, him and his guys can take care of your automotive needs. If you need shocks, struts, you need to get those tires aligned. I know I do. Sometimes you hit curbs. What can I tell you? You know, I don't try to do that, but just sometimes, man, I'll just, that parallel parking, it's a, you know what? And so you need to get those things fixed. And
but wait, it's a full spectrum of automotive needs, because not only do they fix your car, but they have radio controlled automotives as well. So next slide, please. Dun, dun, dun. And there we go. Look at the RC cars they have. I mean, that's a huge RC car. When I was a kid, you know, I had an RC car that was about the size of two Hot Wheels.
That's huge. That guy's not small. You know what I mean? He looks small there compared to the car, but it's not. He's not a little guy.
Yeah, this guy is not an Oompa Loompa. This is a huge RC car. This could run over a Doberman. You know, my RC car would be lucky to run over a gerbil without taking heavy damage. So these are huge.
In fact, I got a little RC card in my closet over here. I should pop that out one time, but it's like a little bitty one. You know what I mean? It's nothing compared to these things. These things are so cool. And they got airplanes, and they got helicopters, and they got stuff to blow things up. Tannerite, that's kind of cool.
Must be over 21 to buy Tannerite.
No, you only 18. 18, yeah. Wow. You can buy 18. You can buy the Tannerite at 18, but you must be 21 to go into an Herbal Choices, who are my other sponsors. So remember that 18 to buy the explosives, but 21 to buy the woo-woo. And so there you go. And the Herbal Choices for all your herbal needs, Herbal Choices, and I highly recommend them. You can get that cannabis infused soda. I really enjoy that. I start out ranting, and then as I rant, I'm drinking that soda, and by the end of it, I'm all ranted out. It's the soda did it, man. I could sit back and watch a John Wayne movie now, and eat some Doritos.
There you go. The way to calm your rant is to have an herbal infused soda from Herbal Choices.
Herbal Choices.
In 5 convenient locations. You must be 21 years or older to imbibe, but they have a Bandon location, a North Bend location, a Coos Bay, Charleston, and Reedsport. You can tell by the friendly signs, and they have some of the best and most supportive staff that know Rob by name at every location for some reason.
For some reason. Others off, Oregon Firearms Federation. And I got news. The Republicans are whipped like puppies. The Oregon's 2 latest gun bans, SB 243 and HB 3076, have passed out of the Ways and Means Committee and are on their way to the floor, where Republican Senator McClain has once again announced they will pass. There were no surprises, just continued disappointments. The Republicans expressed outrage, shock, and how sick they are of gun bans, and they continue to make it clear they will be providing a quorum so these bills will pass. Why walk when you can whine? The people we entrusted to protect our rights are whipped. And I would agree with Kevin Sterrett with that one, because right now, if they walk, they wouldn't even suffer a consequence because they're within 10 days of closing the legislature.
So you're essentially saying that there is if they walk and deny quorum, there's no whammy that you can't run again. So at this point, if you're giving them quorum, then you're essentially saying
we don't give a
useless
shit.
Fool. Yeah, yes. You're a useless fool. Why are you there?
Why are you there?
Mean, yeah.
And super. Aren't you happy? Aren't you thrilled that these are the representatives we have? And I just want to yell, holler, and scream, but it doesn't do any good, because these idiots, they're going to sit there and lecture you on how they were statesmen. I love when they use that. We were statesmen. If that means bending over the barrel and complete surrender, then no, you weren't statesmen. You were cowards. And I don't know. I guess there's a different definition of statesman for them and for me. I guess
that doesn't sound very statesman-like. That sounds like cowering, whimpering dog-like to me. But okay, fine. You want to call it statesman? I'll call it cowering, whimpering dog.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bandandgunclub.org for all your band and gun club pistol range and 5-trap stand shoot needs that you might have. That's right. If you gotta go get and hone in your firearm skills, they got a pistol range and they got a trap range. I like the trap range. It's really cool. 5-stand shoots from all different directions. You're just waving that shotgun around, shooting everywhere you are. And,
you don't want me waving a shotgun around.
No, well, it's not as bad as I make it out to be. TaigaSportsPark.org. They got a 100-yard range, and I can tell you what, this is really cool. You can go there and sight in your telescope. They've got covered shooting dens where you shoot from. And so that's nice. You don't have to get wet when it's raining. And the only problem is that it gets muddy there. And there has to be volunteers. And if you want to volunteer, send an email to TaigaSportsPark.org or get the email or the contact information from TaigaSportsPark.org. That's their website. And you can volunteer from there. It'll tell you all about it. They had a big campaign on how to volunteer. Coos County Neighborhood Watch. This is a really cool group. I was going to put a picture of the 2 bums that I chased away from down the street here, and they were passed out in down the street they had plastic cups around them. They looked like they had just got back from a bar or something. They had drinks, they had booze, they had sodas, they had these cups laying around them, and I let them lay there. I started barbecuing a spare ribs, and it takes about 4 hours to cook spare ribs. So they got there before I went and got the spare ribs. They were down the street, and I went and barbecued them, and I got it all done. Ate the spare ribs, came out. These guys were still passed out down the street, so I had enough. So I went down there, and you know me, I was like a gentle butterfly. I was so delicate when I was yelling at him in his face, "Get the F out of my neighborhood or I'm going to wring your stinking neck." And I meant that in the most loving and endearing,
caring and endearing
way that I could have said it. And I'm taking a picture of him on my phone, and he goes, "Don't you take a picture of me?" And I leaned down and I got in his face and I took a picture of his face. It was beautiful. He was so mad. And it's like, they know they're not going to do anything. I know they're not going to do anything. And I know they're going to get up and they're going to leave. And I made them pick up all of their trash. It was so funny, Marty. It was hilarious. I was pick up this over here. And then I looked over, and in the bushes, there was like this bed covering and a milk crate from across the street, because, my street ends at the back of Ray's. That's why they all gather over here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I yelled at them. I said, "Hey, aren't you guys going to take this shit over here?" And they go, "That's not us. That's that crazy lady." And they described her, and I knew exactly who they were talking about. We got another one who wanders around and sleeps in the bushes. So I said, "Oh, it's garbage." And I took it across the street and I threw it into the garbage bin and cleaned up my neighborhood. And this is what we do in Coos County Neighborhood Watch. And I don't think they're going to be back in a while. And I did call the police. I called the police, and they showed up. This was after I politely and gently encouraged the 2 young men to leave the area. The police did show up and said, "Yeah, that happens. Just let us know. But now that you've spoken with them, they probably aren't going to be back." And I said, "Thank you, officer. You're a wonderful person, and we appreciate everything you do." And they took maybe 5 minutes. I don't even think it was 5 minutes, and they were right out here. It was great.
Wow. Pretty nice. And so
yeah, I have fun doing that.
So is that the end of our sponsor list for today?
No, I don't think it was. We also have city council or Coos County
Citizen Council.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so that's Kesselman, and he has a podcast on what,
Wednesdays? This is their Facebook site, and he didn't have one this Wednesday because they were sick. So we will have one. He will have one next Wednesday. And I think that's it. I think we're done here. Thank goodness.
What do you know? We're at 2 hours and 59 minutes and 12 seconds. So if we hurry up, we can get out of here in less than 3 hours.
Jeez. Well, man, anything you'd like to tell the people before we leave?
You know, there's a lot of topics I wanted to cover that I haven't covered, but that's okay because we covered a lot of stuff. So
we covered some really good stuff, though. That was some really good stuff. That ODFW, if I would have known about that, I would have been on that all over the place. You know what I mean? I would have been.
Oh, yeah.
If he would have called me and let me know. So I hope he gets a hold of me next time. I'd be more than happy to get people to call and get in contact with these things. 20 people. Yeah. I think we could get more than 20 people there.
Well, I mean, the fact that they thought 20 was a big crowd, that was what I found surprising. 20 people showed up. Oh, my God, look at this huge crowd. I'm like, oh, man, we could muster 20 people and nothing.
We could muster 20 people. That would be cool. All of us from Coos County, get like 50 of us. Where are you guys from? We're from Coos County. Oh, my God. What the hell's the matter with those people?
The first 50 people on this call are from Coos County.
Yes. That would be cool.
But anyway.
All right.
So anyway, another good show, another great Friday. And tomorrow we're off to Roseburg for Ruck Pack.
You have a good one.
All righty.
All right. Tell everyone I said hi.
I will do so.
All right. And until then, you know what I say, folks? I'll see you Monday, and carry on, Coos County. Carry on.